going on, everybody? Thank you for being here with us for another episode of LTMB Live. Let the madness begin. My name is Will Gaillard.
I'm Mike White.
What's going on, people? We got a good show for you today. We got a lot to talk about. Yeah, it's gonna be a good show. So
I
think we always, I think we got good content, man.
Yeah, we try,
man. We try to give you the most relevant information. There's many stories that we could deal with on every show, but I think we hit the ones that, like I said, probably pertain to the most people, or at least interesting to the most people.
If we talked about everything we wanted to, we'd be here all day,
all night, though. Yeah, so we're gonna get going in just a moment. How's everybody out there feeling? We got a few people in here watching the stream. Like I said, thank you for being here with us. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, please do so, and hit that bell as well, that notification bell, so you can get all the updated content. We haven't put out a like a clip video in a while, and this past weekend, I was meaning to do it, but that incredible tooth pain.
Oh man,
couldn't focus.
You had a mouth demon.
Yeah, man.
You had a mouth demon to deal with.
Yeah, man. So yeah, expect it coming this weekend.
What about we gonna confirm time change? Because I kind of want to.
Is that?
No, I mean a time change. Is that what you wanted to do?
Oh, I yeah. My bad. I didn't even know where you were going. I thought you were talking about like daylight.
Oh no,
I was like, that ain't here yet. So we're gonna go back to 7:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we're gonna do it 1 hour earlier. That's what we used to do. But had coaching responsibilities, so that was getting in the way. But now that's done. I think we want to go back to 7. I think that'll be better.
Yeah, I think that'll be better too.
Yeah.
Probably won't have people stuck up on here until 12.
Yeah, man.
Like they have been.
We
tend to.
We love y'all, but
we tend to draw it out. You know what I'm saying? And I'm glad that we do have some people who stay when we do kind of prolong the show like that. But yeah,
I don't want to be here regularly till midnight though.
Yeah,
not regularly.
We'll probably just mention it again in the middle of the show, so people who aren't here yet will hear it, and then we'll mention it again at the end of the show.
Right. I was thinking earlier. Well, yeah, maybe yesterday. I was thinking about election day, man. You remember the last election day we did?
Oh yeah.
It wasn't the same.
Did we almost go to 1 o'clock?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, we went to almost 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
It was 12:40 something.
No, it was after. I think it was after 1, wasn't it?
It was after 1.
Because we did how many hours? We did 7 hours?
No. I think when I looked at the finished, the process, it was it said 5.5 or something. And the one we did before that was 4.5. I was we were on for 5.5 hours, dog.
Yeah. I'm thinking, November 6th, that's going to be a long night. Yeah. It's going to be a long night. But there's going to be a lot of races that, of course, to pay attention to.
And I think that's the thing. It's I guess with the presidential election, everything is focused on one.
Just one, that's right.
So you can kind of center your conversation. But midterms, man?
Man, like I said, there's going to be countless different narratives.
And see, the thing is, we're not going to just have to cover the outcome. There is going to be a narrative surrounding not just each outcome, but the overall outcome. So we're gonna have to discuss that too. That's going to probably carry over into the next show.
That's right, because at the end of it, we probably will know what Congress is going to be looking like.
The makeup.
Upcoming year.
You don't know what the makeup is, and I guarantee you
that's going to be something to talk about.
There's Oh yeah. So whatever happens, I think our president will be very vocal on Twitter.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No matter what, right?
No matter what.
All right. So let's get to some of this. Former police officer Roy Oliver was who was charged and convicted for the murder of 15-year-old Jordan Edwards. He was sentenced on Wednesday to 15 years in prison. The prosecutors were advocating for at least 60 years. Defense attorneys were arguing for a term of 2 to 20 years. So it seems as though the jury was lenient. It seems as though the jury felt like this former officer was somebody that deserved mercy. Because being that he only got the 15-year sentence, he will be possibly he will be coming up for parole in as little as 7.5 years.
Yeah, there were some people who were saying that, you know, or they were presuming that he would serve all of it, but I wouldn't guarantee that, likely. Considering that, you know, he's already been shown leniency as far as the sentencing phase. So we can't guarantee that he's going to serve all of it.
No. I would think it's probable that he's not.
Like, I can understand it in circumstances where it's ambiguous and a police officer made a mistake and ended up causing someone harm, but it was like negligent. Yeah. Being lenient, but when it's this egregious and this intentional, personally, I think law enforcement in many cases should receive more time. No doubt,
because they're entrusted with actually protecting civilization, right? They're entrusted with protecting those who they are serving. So when they make it's not that he made a mistake. See, that's not it. If he made a mistake, this wouldn't be a murder charge. He didn't make a mistake. He made a calculated decision to shoot into a vehicle which he didn't know who was in that vehicle. He didn't know that there was any threat. His partner didn't feel like he was threatened. There was no reason to do that. So Jordan Edwards' mother, Charmaine Edwards, she said that she would have preferred 25 to 30 years. She said that in the time that he's going to be getting out, whether that's 7.5 years or 15 years, he gets a second shot at life.
He gets a second shot at life.
While her child,
that's important to mention.
Yeah, while her child is gone forever, you know. So this is the reason why on the last show when we were talking about the conviction, I mentioned that there were several steps along the way of justice. There were several steps along the way of holding this officer accountable. There's first being charged, there's the grand jury, there's the jury trial, and then there's the sentencing as well, right? So this was the last step here. And look, I'm glad that he's going to face some actual imprisonment, but again, 15 years, which could be knocked down probably all the way to 7.5.
And so, actually, you just introduced another step. You just introduced another step, which is like good behavior.
Yes.
And there's another joker card in there, and that's the judge. Sometimes judges like override.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
I guess sentencing recommendations. So luckily that didn't happen, but he still got lenient treatment. So that last step, and when it comes to serving the time, that most likely is going to be something that's, I guess, overcome by Oliver, or Oliver is going to overcome. Yeah. So
usually they are on their best behavior.
Oh yeah.
You know, usually they are. So I predict that in 7.5 years.
I mean, I'm not like, you know, advocating for this. I guess whatever facility he goes to, just like maybe throwing a suggestion out there for anybody that is, you know, currently an inmate.
Right.
Maybe they should, you know, start a fight or something.
Get some time added on.
Yeah, man, get some time added on. Like, start a fight, man. Make sure this dude doesn't have good behavior, man. Like, plant like a shank in his bed.
And then,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, then dime him out.
Just dime him out, man. Just get some mugs like during like child time and just hit him over the head with the little food tray, man. Dump some oatmeal on his head.
And then everybody like, he did it.
He did it, man.
He did it, man.
Yeah, man. Like, get him in beef with like the baddest dude in the prison, man. Do something, man.
Like I said, it's good news that he will be in prison, but you know, it's not quite a just sentence. On to the next story. Crystal Mason, the Texas woman who was sentenced to 5 years in federal prison because she illegally voted in the 2016 presidential election. She was back in court on Thursday appealing that ruling. The result is better than the 5 years that she was expecting to be serving in federal prison, but it doesn't approach justice. So the judge today ruled that she must spend 10 months in federal prison in conjunction with 26 months of supervised release. So again, this was all because she voted in the 2016 election while she wasn't supposed to. She was already on supervised release because she had a conviction for another charge previously. She served out her time, came out, she was on supervised release, and felt like she needed to perform her civic duty, and she went ahead and did that, knowing that she couldn't.
Do you remember what kind of crime she was initially
It was
wasn't it like a financial crime or something?
Yeah, it was about taxes, like fudging tax numbers.
Why do you need Why do you need supervised release for that kind of crime? You see what I'm saying?
You would think, like, if you're actually hurting somebody else, you probably would need supervised release.
Yes, exactly.
So you're bringing up a conversation that we haven't talked about. Why even the need
for supervised release on such an offense? Like, usually, like, when you think of supervised release, you're thinking about somebody who, like, has shown some form of violence, or has shown some, I guess, a gross form of irresponsibility, like danger to their community, danger to their family, danger to themselves. They need, like, someone to stay on them because they're always involved in trouble. Yes, she committed a crime, but it's not the type of crime where somebody needs to follow her around for a gift. You know what I'm saying?
In essence, this is like a white collar crime. So why the hell would you? It's ridiculous. And the ridiculous part of this too, well, one of the ridiculous parts is that her vote didn't even count. She tried to vote. She was handed a provisional ballot because her name was not on the list, because it shouldn't have been on the list. So she actually used her own ID, everything. She did it the right way. And you know what? The system actually worked. It caught the error, or it caught the mistake, or what have you. It caught that she should not have voted. So her vote did not count. So there was no injury, nobody was hurt. It didn't get in the, didn't get into the way of the overall vote count in Texas or anything like that. But still, since she was on supervised release, it's a felony. So now she's got to spend 10 months in prison, in federal prison, for something that didn't even count.
I mean, when you're looking at the circumstances of the case, I mean, it's pretty clear that there should have been some sort of discretion. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I guess they offered some kind of discretion because she was initially going to get 5 years, a time that is kind of longer than a lot of these rape sentences. Those convicted of rape,
where you're actually inflicting harm on somebody else.
So initially it was 5 years. So I guess they showed some discretion, but I think it's not worth it, considering that she has a family to take care of, and I guess the circumstances and the context surrounding the voting error. You know what I'm saying?
Is she liable to repeat this action? You know, like again, there was nobody that was hurt. I don't think anybody can make the case that she's gonna make this kind of decision again. So why not a fine? Why not? Well, hey, look, you did do the wrong thing, even if you didn't know it. There's gonna have to be a penalty. Why take away 10 months of this woman's life? You know, because you can't get that back. You can fine her $1,000. You can say, okay, here, a few hours of community service. You can keep her on supervised release if you have to.
Yeah, like, because the spirit behind sending somebody back to jail is because they are a threat to commit that violation again. That's the spirit behind sending someone back to jail.
Yeah. Question from Gene: is she allowed to vote this November? Well, no, she's not gonna. She's gonna be incarcerated, this November. But she won't be allowed to vote again until all the terms and conditions of her imprisonment are satisfied. That means supervised release as well. So again, she's gonna be facing 26 months of supervised release once she gets out of prison 10 months from now. So it won't be until that time where she gets back her voting rights in Texas. So sad situation. I don't know if there's any plans for an appeal, because this was already an appeal. You know, like, this was an appeal to get the ruling.
Appeal to the ruling, and it kind of, they got a small victory,
right?
But they didn't get like a total victory.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's any other steps. So, all right. On to Tuesday night, okay. So Andrew Gillum won the Democratic primary for governor in the state of Florida, shocking not only the establishment but me. Honestly, I thought that this was a bar that realistically might have been way too high for Andrew Gillum to supersede, to get over. He was coming into the primary. He was polling a distant fourth. in this, in all the polls, there were three other candidates, three other Democratic candidates who were all millionaires, all outraising him and spending much more money on the campaign than he is. And to be honest, I don't think they really took him that seriously because he was polling so far behind.
So it was almost like he benefited from being an underdog in a way that probably took focus away from him, and maybe even attacking him. Yeah, because they could have attacked him on something.
I think they probably would have put a little bit more emphasis on his campaign had they known that he was actually going to challenge them. But he ran a very progressive campaign. He ran a very aggressive campaign. He toured the state. He got his message out. So you have to give him just the utmost credit for that. Again, like I say, he ran a very progressive campaign. He campaigned on marijuana legalization. He was campaigning on abolishing the Stand Your Ground law, abolishing ICE. He was supportive of Medicare for all, and he was
criminal justice reform.
Yeah, criminal justice reform.
He's kind of his prime kind of topic and focus on his campaign was advocating for teacher pay,
right,
or higher teacher pay.
And he was supportive of increasing the minimum wage to $50 an hour as well. And so this is kind of interesting and strange for the state of Florida because Democrats in the state of Florida tend to run in the center. They tend to be centrist campaigns because they want to appeal to conservatives in the state.
Because, there's a large population in the state that is on the older side, too.
Yes.
And I think the last time I looked it up, it showed that there were more registered Democrats in Florida than Republicans. And there's also a lot of unaffiliated and independent. So this race could get interesting.
Yeah,
depending on how the voters respond.
Yeah. And so, like I said, he did away with that approach, that old Democratic approach of running in the center. He went far left. He had the moral courage to actually stand up for what he believed in, and he felt like this is the message that's going to get the job done. Now, again, maybe he did benefit from polling so distantly and his competitors not thinking that he was a challenge to him, but I think his ideas did win, and we have seen that all around the country. So who he's going to be facing is the U.S. Representative Ron DeSantis. He won his primary in the Republican primary for governor. He beat I forgot the guy's name, but he came away with it. I think everybody really believed that he was going to come away with it. Trump endorsed him. DeSantis, to put it mildly,
he is your typical conservative homosexual with a disdain for immigrants.
Yes.
And
I was going to say he's a Trump buttlicker. Something like that, I mean,
I would have gone a little bit more closer to the center. Yeah. I would have gone a little more.
That's why I said, modestly speaking.
Go more closer to the center, but that's cool. I'll leave it right there.
If you had seen one of his campaign commercials, his campaign ads about build a wall. He's with his child and building a Lego wall. I
thought it was a parody.
Wow, it's that was wow. But anyway, so there's already been some controversy just one day into this matchup between Gillum and DeSantis. Ron DeSantis uttered some comments on Fox News with Sandra Smith that, like I said, really embroiled him in some controversy. And, well, you know what? I'm just going to let the video speak for itself. So we're going to show the video of Ron DeSantis speaking and what he said, and then we're going to go to Gillum's response to his remarks.
So we've got to work hard to make sure that we continue Florida going in a good direction. Let's build off the success we've had on Governor Scott. The last thing we need to do is to monkey this up by trying to embrace a socialist agenda with huge tax increases and bankrupting the state.
It was the monkey this up part. Sir, your response.
Yeah, that part wasn't lost on me. It's very clear that Mr. DeSantis is taking a page directly from the campaign manual of Donald Trump. But I think he's got another thing coming to him. If he thinks that in today's day and age, Florida voters are going to respond to that level of derision and division, they're sick of it. What we're trying to offer in this race
was
is
that
a North
racist
Star
or
for where we want to
or
go as a state.
Was that racist or a figment of speech?
Well, in the handbook of Donald Trump, they no longer do whistle calls. They're now using full bullhorns.
And that was a bullhorn?
And what I've got to say about that is that we've got to make sure that we stay focused, I think, on the issues that confront everyday people. I'm not going to get down in the gutter with DeSantis and Trump. There's enough of that going on. I'm going to try and stay high and try to talk about what the North Star in the future is for the state of Florida and the people of this state. And I think that's what people want.
So DeSantis, you could hear him say,
we don't need somebody monkeying this up.
Yeah,
we don't need him. We don't need him monkeying this up because I guess according to him, things are going well in Florida.
Yes, extremely well
with Governor Scott.
Yes,
really
under the direction of Rick Scott.
Under the direction of Governor Scott,
glowingly.
things are going very well, right?
Yes. But yeah, the whole don't monkey this up. As soon as I heard it, I'm thinking to myself, hold on, okay, monkey this up. Have I ever heard that before?
I know, like like maybe it's just me. It could have been just a form of speech, and it could just been like language that's normally racist that he kind of used in a different context.
Mm-hmm.
So because when it comes to situations like this, you kind of do have to look at the individual. If there was nothing else about DeSantis that indicated that he was a bigot, I can let this slide. If there was nothing else I can point to that would indicate that he's a bigot, I think I would let this slide and just say, oh, it's just a form of speech. But I can't do that.
Right.
Because like you said, you mentioned the commercial before, the campaign commercial, that was so ridiculously bigoted that I thought it was a parody.
Right. That
featured him building a border wall with his son, who is a toddler. He also accepted a paid trip that was sponsored by a known bigot and racist, David Horowitz. And he also co-signs on all of Trump's immigrant rhetoric. So it wouldn't surprise me that he would kind of use this what Gillum described as a bullhorn, not even a dog whistle, a bullhorn. Right. So it wouldn't surprise me. It just seems very specific, though, and intentional, because saying it in the sentence he did just seems out of place. I don't know if it's just me. It just seems like the way it was structured just seemed out of place and intentional. Like, monkey this up. I was like, why would he say it like that?
See,
I just don't know. I just don't know.
When he said monkey it up, I think I was hearing like muck it up.
Muck.
You know what I'm saying?
That makes more sense.
Because I've said that many times before, and everybody's
sense.
heard that before probably. And you know what that means. But I said that many times throughout the years. But I'm just thinking like monkey it up. Like, why say that? Look, I've noted before that this country has a torrid past of white people trying to dehumanize black people by throwing out the term like monkey or ape, chimpanzee, gorilla, whatever. It's all a way to dehumanize somebody or dehumanize black people and cast them out as other than, less than. So I'm just not going to accept that he didn't know what he was talking about. Like you said, it didn't really flow properly. It seemed like out of place.
His mom would just said potato.
Yeah, I'm just not buying that.
Want to potato this up?
Yeah. But so after this, of course, like I said, there was controversy. This was all the buzz. A lot of different news outlets was talking about it. So of course, Representative DeSantis had to say something about it, and he did. So he tried to clarify his position, and so we're going to show some clips of that.
DeSantis has since clarified his comment in a statement saying, quote, Ron DeSantis was obviously talking about Florida not making the wrong decision to embrace the socialist policies that Andrew Gillum espouses. To characterize it as anything else is absurd. Florida's economy has been on the move for the last 8 years, and the last thing we need is a far-left Democrat trying to stop our success. We do not condone this language and wanted to make our viewers aware that he has since clarified his statement.
It has zero to do with race, Sean. It has everything to do with whether we want Florida to continue to go in a good direction, building off the success, or do we want to turn to left-wing socialist policies which will absolutely devastate our state. And here's the thing. I believe people should be judged based on their ability and character regardless of race. But it's because of that that I know that socialism won't work in Florida. It's not good for any race, color, or creed. So this is not about race. This is about ideas and principles. And I'm not going to let the Democrats and Andrew Gillum try to obscure a debate about whether his tax increases, his single-payer health care plan, his desire to abolish ICE, whether that is something that's acceptable for Florida. I don't think it is, and I don't care what color you are.
Well, see, here's my thing. If that was actually the case, he should have presented at least a bit of, I don't know, like some sort of policy rebuttal. Like something specific. It did not have to be extensive, but if that was going to be your focus, if that was going to be his focus, that should have been. I mean, like regardless of the context of what he meant as far as monkeying it up, like the overarching theme of DeSantis's rebuke of Gillum surrounds this like idea of fear-mongering socialism. It's like a buzzword to the right now. That's really all they have. That's like a catch-all term for everything bad. Because other than Gillum wanting to raise corporate taxes to an actually a conservative level, not like out of the box, not like out of the ordinary, other than Gillum wanting to raise corporate taxes, he didn't really point to specific issues in Gillum's platform that would be bad for the people of Florida.
Well,
you know
he did mention like, single payer.
Well, that's it. But that's really it. Like, but
giving
like,
everybody health care. That's horrible for Florida.
But again, if you're going to say that, you have to explain why that is. You're going to say, oh, that's bad. That's bad. So it's like he doesn't really elaborate on even what he meant by monkey it up. So even if the context was about destroying the great state of Florida and the progress it's making, he might want to be a little bit more specific about how he thinks Gillum will actually monkey it up, because as of right now, if you're looking at what Gillum's like, I guess, pride and joy and kind of prime campaign focus is the teachers, right, and paying teachers what they're worth. And right now, Florida ranks in the mid 40s.
Yeah, I think they're 45th. Yeah,
45th. So as far as monkeying it up, he can't monkey that up much more.
That's true. I'm not gonna let him get away with that. I see it was a nice try, though, because he tried to advance the conversation, move the conversation along so he could get away or get past the whole monkey it up comment. But my problem with that is that I haven't heard an explanation of actually why he used the term. Like, where did it come from? Nobody, because he's had interviews with Hannity. He had an interview with Sandra Smith. He put out a statement. I haven't heard anybody kind of describe how that word actually got into his vocabulary, or the vocabulary like in his vernacular in that type of way. Why not say we can't let him tiger it up? Well, but we can't let this dude kind of elephant this whole system, you know?
Rhinoceros it up.
Yeah. To specifically use the word monkey, and you a U.S. representative, you know the history of this country, no doubt. I'm not saying that you're a dumb man. I know you're not a dumb man. So you understand the connotations, the negative connotations of that word as it relates to black people. So why did you use it when referencing a black person? I'm not going to let you off the hook like that, man. Definitely not. He knew exactly what he was saying, and he said it anyways. So he said a lot more. Like you said, he was talking about the whole socialism angle.
Socialism,
which,
raising taxes.
Yeah,
raising taxes, single payer.
And like you said, it's the buzzword. You know, you attribute anything to socialism that you're
bad.
against.
Like, again, that's all he did was use these like terminology as a buzzword and didn't really explain himself like and elaborate. Okay, how would this muck our economy up or monkey it up? See, I'm thinking using it in the correct way.
In the correct way, right.
So how would it actually monkey it up if he is going to like, I guess, cover himself, I expect a better explanation. Again, I'm not going to give him the benefit of the doubt, but at least he could explain himself a little bit deeper than just kind of fear-mongering on some buzzwords.
You know what? In June, I just saw this in the chat, made a good point. Because I heard him in another interview. I believe this was an interview he was doing with Laura Ingraham, in which he did talk about socialism and, you know, we can't be Venezuela and blah, blah, blah. Why not point, you know, because a lot of the time he's talking about single-payer healthcare. No, we can't do that. So why not point to a country like Israel? Why not point to a country like Canada?
Oh,
those aren't. You mean, that's not Venezuela, is it?
You mean a country that we give aid to?
Yeah. It's funny how all these other countries have single-payer healthcare systems that they never disband. Like, they never get rid of it because it seems to be working. It seems to be working the best way for them. But it's not termed socialism.
You know what they do? They always point to people coming over to get, I guess, medical procedures done in the United States. But none of those people are coming from... You know what I'm saying?
Right.
What?
Yeah.
None of those people are coming from Sweden.
Yeah, no. Because why would they? why would they?
Why would they? And I do think it's funny how when kind of the naysayers of single payer talk about whether it can work or not, they always point to the fact that, oh, those countries are smaller.
They always do that.
So it can't work over here. Mm-hmm. But when they point to a country where it doesn't work, it's actually a country where there's no socialism. It's Venezuela. That's not a socialist system. But let's just say it is, just for shits and giggles for this point. They point to a smaller country to show how it doesn't work. Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see the double speak here?
Yes.
It won't work because this country is too small, so you can't compare it. But then they'll show how socialism failed in Venezuela, which Venezuela doesn't have socialism. But again, just for this particular talking point, we'll just agree with them and say that they do. They'll point to Venezuela, which is a smaller country. See, it doesn't work, but I can say, well, it's a smaller country, so it's not a really a good example.
Exactly, and this is a huge economy, right? We're the richest country in the history of the world, right? So how can you actually say that we can't afford it when, if you even take a conservative analysis, it says that it will actually decrease the overall spending on healthcare. It's just, like you said, it's just demonizing a program that is meant to provide basic level healthcare to every man, woman, and child. But again, DeSantis was not finished. I believe this was during his interview with Sandra Smith earlier. He also referenced an FBI investigation into possible corruption in Tallahassee government, and so he did that to say, hey, this is somebody in Gillum. Gillum is the Tallahassee mayor. So he's saying that I guess combine corruption with Gillum and say that he couldn't even manage his own city. How's he going to manage a whole state? We don't need that. We don't need that type of government for the whole state. But the whole investigation, all right, because there is an investigation into the government in Tallahassee. And so it goes back to, I believe, 2015, at least 2015. Not a lot is known about it because I believe it's still ongoing, and it's the only reporting being done on it is by local reporters, and again, it's just not a lot of information. But there's been no word, or I guess no suggestion, that it does include Gillum as a target, and Gillum has come out and said that he's cooperating and that he has been told by FBI officials that he is not a target. So at this point, it's like I said, it's I don't believe anything is sticking to him.
For DeSantis to do that is, I guess I would say that would be, I guess I can go out on a limb and say that's pretty much lying.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty much lying. You're just saying, hey, there's some corruption in Tallahassee where Gillum was a mayor. I'm not going to, elaborate on the context of the corruption or how it occurred. I'm just saying, since he was the mayor, I'm just kind of throwing that out there, suggesting that he is corrupt too.
Right.
Like for real, which is kind of ironic, seeing as DeSantis is a Trump supporter.
Right.
And I think
we can't have corruption, but my guy is President Trump.
Not only, it's like not my guy is President Trump, and 5 individuals that actually surround this man have been indicted. So it does look kind of disingenuous for him to call Gillum out on it. And like, and I don't know, like when I start thinking about like city management and being a mayor, I don't think like people's individual actions that they do, as far as whether it be embezzlement, insider trading, tax evasion, like campaign finance fraud, that's not a city management issue. You see what I'm saying? That's not something you actually can control because somebody's doing something illegal. You can't. That's not something you can control. That's not a city management issue. So to bring that up as some sort of city management issue is a bit disingenuous.
The actual FBI investigation, it seems like it stems around like land deals or like investing in Tallahassee. There were FBI agents that were posing as out of town investors. So they were looking to do potential land development deals. So again, we don't know a lot about the investigation. And there's no way that DeSantis knows anything as well. So for him to throw that on him, he's only doing that for political purposes.
And like you said, Gillum is like fully cooperating.
Yes.
He's like, yeah, man, if there's corruption around here,
but his boy,
I want it out of here. That's like anything like that should be welcome, because like a lot of times oversight like that is necessary because like our city officials don't see and know everything. But once they get word of something, they should allow the FBI or outside investigators in gladly, which Gillum did. And what'd you just say?
But his boy Trump,
okay,
is he being as open to an investigation dealing with corruption?
Absolutely, absolutely, Will, absolutely.
But anyway, I think this is going to be a pretty close race. We don't know how this thing is going to shake out. I think either one of them can realistically win it. Just coming out of this primary, there was a poll done by, I think it was Public Polling Policy or Public Policy Polling, I believe. It's PPP. I think it's whatever. But there was a poll done, and it is a left leaning organization. But Gillum was actually, he took I think 48% of the poll to DeSantis's I think 43%. So again, this is going to be, I believe this is going to be a pretty contested race. And hopefully his words just one day into this whole race, hopefully they stick with him.
See, I want like Gillum to challenge this dude beyond some random buzzwords and talking points he's used to using.
Right.
Because see, like we all know when it comes to primaries, that's like trying to appeal to your particular party. So it's a bit easier. When you go into the general, you kind of have to like expand your rhetoric a little bit more.
Right. And
just kind of looking over DeSantis's platform and just looking at his kind of historical rhetoric, it's like, it's very empty, man. It's very empty. It's that kind of same narrow-minded, lowbrow platform that caters to like conservative victimhood and kind of mindless corporate servitude.
That's what it is.
That's exactly what it is. He's I think he's one of the Koch brothers water boys too.
I would not doubt that.
Yeah.
So again, that's definitely going to be a race that we'll keep an eye on. Definitely one of the headliners going into November 6th, the general election. In Arizona, U.S. Representative Martha McSally, she won the Republican nomination, or the Republican primary for the Senate in Arizona. She easily beat the challengers Kelly Ward and former Maricopa County Sheriff Joe Arpaio.
Where did Mr. Arpaio come in? Where did he finish?
So like I said, there was Martha McSally. And then there was Kelly Ward,
right,
and Joe Arpaio. He came in a very distant third.
Oh yes, it was
very distant.
He got some votes though. He did.
Maybe next time, Joe. Good job with your pardon though.
How about this? Like, if he couldn't pull it out this time,
oh please, his career's over.
Right, I'm saying right after a very momentous pardon and the support of the president.
There was a video.
Dog, Bruh.
There was a video in which I believe he was asked. Was he asked who his heroes were, or did he just offer that?
Yes, no. He was asked. It was an MSNBC reporter who was on site to cover the Arizona primaries. It wasn't just Arpaio, but it was her turn. It was Arpaio's turn to be interviewed.
Right.
And I guess he was asked who his influences are in politics, who his heroes are, and he like took a second, and he basically said like, I haven't viewed anyone as a hero until recently. I was like, oh hell no, he's not.
He said he woke up in the morning.
He woke up in the morning.
And Donald Trump became his hero.
Donald Trump became his hero. I need a hero. That's like I started hearing that song.
It can't get funnier than that, man. But yeah, he's out of there. He, like I said, he ran a distant third.
But why would Trump be his hero? Oh, because Trump came in caping.
Saved the day.
He came in with his
Save a Joe.
His MAGA cape. He came in with his MAGA cape.
Save a Joe, dog.
Captain Save a Joe.
That's what I'm talking about. So you didn't catch it at first.
He came in with his MAGA cape, and then pardoned him right on up.
That's right, man. That's what he did. So of course that's his hero.
Of course that's his hero.
But anyway, forget Arpaio. So anyway, McSally, she is a Trump supporter and has always been a Trump supporter. There was a time in 2016 when she tried to take this moral high ground role. That's when the Access Hollywood tape had came out, and Trump's comments. So at the time, she said that Trump's comments were disgusting and unacceptable. She said she was appalled by them, but did she pull her support? Nah, she didn't pull her support. She's a fake. She's a fraud, just like a lot of these other politicians. But anyway, she's going to be facing U.S. Representative Kyrsten Sinema, who easily won the Democratic primary for the Senate against newcomer Deidre Aboud. So Deidre Aboud, I looked over her platform too. It was a very progressive platform. And again, she was a newcomer. She was somebody that didn't have a lot of eyes on her. Most people didn't know who she was. So like I said, she really, at this point, she easily did not stand a chance. But like I said, her platform was actually very progressive, and it was something to support. I think so. But anyway, Sinema, Representative Sinema, she is nothing to get excited about. Now, there are some positions that she holds that I agree with. That would be on abortion. That would be on several gun reform issues. She seems to be anti-war, but I'm not sure of that. I just did a pretty basic level search on her, some research on her, and it seems like her words indicate that she is anti-war. But again, you'd have to really, I guess, get down to like how she has voted in her past, and I would really want to know how was she supportive. You remember in the House there was that bipartisan group featuring Representative Ro Khanna, and they wanted something done on Yemen.
Oh, so like just to have a conversation.
Yes,
not actually something specifically done, like some sort of exit strategy or some sort of non-support strategy of Saudi Arabia. It was just going to be a conversation about Yemen.
Yeah. Well, they wanted to force the Congress's action to say that, hey, we are actually in an official alliance with Saudi Arabia in this war, or we're not, and we're going to get out, because Congress has not made any determination so far. So I would really, since she's anti-war, I would want to know how she feels about that. But like I said, that would take more research. But anyway, there's a big but here. She aligns herself with the Blue Dog Coalition. Blue Dogs? You know who the Blue Dog Coalition is. That's the conservative Democratic organization.
I'm not saying that, Doug.
Blue Dogs?
I'm not saying that.
He said it many times before.
I've never said that. He's lying.
He said it many times.
Find the tape. Find it.
You know I will. But anyway, so just her being a part of the Blue Dog Coalition, you can tell what that says about her. And recently, she said some things about universal health care. She said, particularly Medicare for all. She says, I do not support Medicare for all. I am really focused on the solutions that are realistic, are pragmatic, and can get done in our current situation. So you're telling me actually ensuring health care for every woman, man, and child in this country is not pragmatic. that's not realistic. Actually,
Who does
going
that sound
forward,
like?
yeah, exactly.
Who does that sound like?
That sounds like Republicans, doesn't it?
Republicans and
Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going.
Yeah,
'Cause
but
when
we
she's
always
pretty
said
much-
that she was kind of like
she was
Republican,
So she's pretty much saying it's a pipe dream.
Yeah.
Even though it's proven to be not a pipe dream, it's proven to be very doable.
Exactly. And again, it will cut down on spending. So we're going to spend less money and we're going to make sure that everybody is covered in this country. But that's not pragmatic. No, she's focused on realistic situations, like realistic results. Okay, whatever.
Oh, like the current realistic results we are getting.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Right now, yeah. Those results. Those bad results. Okay. Throughout her years in office, because like I said, she is a current U.S. representative, she seems to be getting more conservative. So back in 2015, she voted with Democrats 73% of the time. In 2017, she voted with Trump's agenda about 50% of the time. And as of July 2018, she has voted with Trump's agenda 59% of the time. So it seems like this is an individual, a public servant, who is getting more conservative throughout her time in office.
Oh, like almost very Manchin-esque.
Good old Joe.
I was gonna use the other person, but the name didn't fit. I was gonna use the other chick.
What, Height Camp?
Yeah, but it's Heikenkamp-esque. It just didn't sound. It didn't flow as well. So
yeah.
I was like, I'll pick Joe.
Yeah. So that's going to be the matchup for Senate in Arizona. This is not going to be Senator John McCain's spot. You know, that spot is going to be that's going to be appointed by the governor. This one is Jeff Flake's. He's retiring. He's not running for re-election. So, of course, McSally is seen as the favorite. This is Arizona, but I don't know. If somebody can challenge her, maybe it is some type of conservative Democrat in that state. So I don't know. But either way, it's a wash for me. You know,
I was about to say either way it's a wash. It's not something that it's like, are you going to be satisfied with somebody who votes like 95% with Trump's agenda or 60%? Like big whoopee.
Yeah, you're gonna be disappointed.
You're gonna be disappointed either way.
Yeah. So that's not really a race that like we're focused on. You know, it's gonna be a bad situation either way. So yeah, that's what we have for coming out of Tuesday. All right, so let's move on to good old DeVos. All right, All right, so Secretary of Education Betsy DeVos is proposing new policies regarding how universities and campuses should handle sexual assault and sexual harassment cases. So last year, Betsy DeVos stated about the Obama administration, quote, "The truth is that the system established by the prior administration has failed too many students. Survivors, victims of a lack of due process, and campus administrators have all told me that the current approach does a disservice to everyone involved." So we know that it's not just Betsy DeVos who is leading the Department of Education. It's not just her a part of this administration who is trying to, roll back they're trying to roll back as much as they can from the prior administration. So this is not real news. We knew that something like this was coming. We didn't know what the proposed rule changes were going to be, but now we have some kind of idea. So the new rules would bolster the rights of the accused, increase the burden of proof, and institute a narrow definition of what constitutes as sexual harassment. So on that last point, what is going to be, I guess, redefined as sexual harassment? Obama's guidelines define the crime more broadly as unwelcome conduct of a sexual nature. It includes unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, and other verbal, nonverbal, or physical conduct of a sexual nature. But DeVos plans to specify the definition as unwelcome conduct on the basis of sex that is so severe, pervasive, and objectively offensive that it denies a person access to the school's education program or activity. As the Times reports, unlike Obama's guidelines, DeVos's proposed rules do not clarify what a hostile environment is for victims, but would allow schools to bar a person from entering campus after a safety and risk assessment. That's a lot of look. That's a pretty stark change. to shrink what it is that much is pretty mind blowing.
And also, she is showing her ignorance as far as like what schools in general, not just universities, can do as far as like assessing whether someone is a threat on their property or at their school. Now she is correct in saying that there were a lot of complaints about the Obama era rule taking away due process, like allowing universities to make disciplinary decision in regard to students and like suspending them or completely expelling them. I guess a lot of people saw those circumstances and I guess their outcomes as a lack of due process or having a lack of due process, because the preponderance of evidence or the amount of evidence that they use to determine these things is not the same as in like a legal case.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That is in a public courtroom.
Right.
So a lot of people had a problem with that, and it did result in the lawsuits. Now, in some of these cases, the accused did like win, but what people need to understand about, I guess, these sexual assault rules that were implemented during the Obama era, it was focused around universities adjudicating whether there are certain individuals that they could discipline. That's what it's about. It wasn't about adjudicating guilt or innocence and throwing them in jail. It was about adjudicating whether or not the person should face campus discipline.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Up to expulsion. That's what it was about. You know what I'm saying? I have no problem with that. That's where the preponderance of evidence standard DeVos is trying to change becomes key, because the standards for institutional discipline are not the same standards that apply in a public legal court. Right. And there's schools on a daily basis. I don't care if it's a elementary school, I don't care if it's a middle school, or if it's a high school. They're making decisions on whether someone, I guess, lives up to the standards to be on their property. If they pose a danger to the people on their property, then guess what? They are either suspended or expelled.
Right.
There's schools who do that daily. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's use work for an example. There are things that you can get fired for that are not illegal outside of that work environment, right? Places of business use a code of discipline, and there are things that are not permissible there that are permissible on the outside. They make that decision as a business, and in this case as a school, to determine whether these individuals, whether male or female, pose a danger to the other students. This is why I guess the level of evidence is not as high. It doesn't need to be as high. That's what DeVos has a problem with. That's the preponderance of evidence, I guess, statute or standard from the Obama era. But these cases at these universities are handled like civil trials, where you don't have to have all that evidence. It just needs to, they need to show that proof that it actually happened. Yeah. And it's not just focused on rape. Remember, that's the problem I have with the direction DeVos is going, because it's not just rape. It's all sexual misconduct, like harassment, like stalking, like the dude from Wisconsin. Remember the dude from Wisconsin who got a slap on the wrist? Right. He not only raped three women, he strangled two, and he was accused and was found to have stalked 20 others. That's why you know, the university chose to, I guess, apply discipline to him. And it's no different with the Obama era rules.
So the problem I have with this is that it seems like with this, like I said, these rule changes, it seems like more women are going to feel like they aren't going to want to come forward, because it doesn't seem like they're going to be supported. Already, most cases are not reported. The National Sexual Violence Resource Center says that 1 in 5 women is sexually assaulted while in college, and more than 90% of sexual assault victims in college campuses don't report the crime. So if you feel like if these women, and these men too, whoever is assaulted or is harassed by somebody, if they feel like the rules are being like reduced in a way, or like they're being like updated in a way to where it's like, I'm not going to be supported, then why would they actually come forward when they don't feel like they're going to have the support of the campus, of the university? Like, that's what they're there for. I think that's what they think that they're there for, to actually make them safe in their, you know, in their learning environment. So I also talked about the rights of the accused being increased. So they will now be able to cross-examine their accusers as well. Now, this is something that the Obama administration specifically discouraged, noting that it could be, quote, traumatic and or intimidating, thereby possibly escalating or perpetrating a hostile environment. So the victims in these cases, imagine that they have to actually be on campus and probably live with this day to day, day after day after day, and may have to actually confront their attackers on a day-to-day basis. Now you're saying that not only is that going to be their reality, that they actually will have to be questioned by this attacker as well. Like, that will be like a re-victimization.
What do you think that's going to do? Like,
oh, I think that will lessen the reporting of these incidences.
That would seem like kind of like the only outcome of some.
Who would want to go through that?
I think that's the point. They're trying to. She's trying to lessen the instances of even reporting.
So, also, under the proposed rule changes, colleges and universities would have a lesser burden to investigate complaints. Under DeVos's rules, schools would be legally responsible to investigate formal complaints only if school officials had actual knowledge of the crime. A formal complaint is one made to an official who has the authority to institute corrective measures. Additionally, schools would be responsible only for pursuing crimes that occurred on campus or during school programs versus those that occurred in off-campus housing. According to Obama's guidelines, reports the Times, schools were required to deal with complaints no matter where they occurred.
See, when the majority of students do not live on campus.
Yes, they live on
and
off-campus.
The reason why it was extended to even off-campus property is because those individuals go to school together. They are on the same campus. So they have, there's possible that they might run into each other.
That's what I'm saying. And see, these complainants, they want educational reform. Like they not all of these victims are going to go to the police, because that's secondary to what is, I guess, primary to their goal, because they want a safe learning environment, and that is primary. So if they can't succeed in getting their learning environment to be a safe environment, then why, like, it doesn't make any sense. We understand that, like, there's some cases that, yes, the police should be involved. Maybe all cases, police should be involved, right? But that's not reality. A lot of these victims are going to go immediately to the university because that is that's supposed to be their safe haven.
Yeah, and like, regardless if the police are involved or not, that still does not preclude the university from trying to determine whether this person, this individual who is accused, is a danger to be on school property. Even if the cops are involved.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
They still have the right as an institution to determine that. Again, these decisions are made on a daily basis. Schools always are determining who is a danger to be on their property, from, like I said, elementary school, middle school, high school, and on to college. They do this all the time. And actually, these, you would call it university disciplinary hearings, or I guess this process, it just doesn't involve rape.
Right.
It involves all kinds of things like plagiarism and cheating. There's all kinds of things that go on in a university that gets handled there, that where they make a determination whether somebody is allowed to be on campus, and there's a process for that.
Again, it seems as though the rules that are being changed or being updated, it seems like it's with the emphasis on reducing the overall number of complaints. Megyn Kelly on her NBC show on Thursday morning, she said that the Obama administration, quote, overcorrected the problem and swung the pendulum too far back against the accused, completely eroding their due process rights. And so to make her case, she pointed to a few individual stories. I think there were actually just 2 stories that she actually highlighted of male students who were unjustly punished because of some false accusations made against them. So look, like you were talking about due process, no doubt, like we want there to be due process in all of these cases, no doubt. We're not saying that the system that we had previously was perfect, like 100%, nothing needed to be done to it, right? But I think we also have to allow I think any reasonable person will allow that, by and large, most of these victims that are coming forward are telling the truth. So these 2 cases that Megyn Kelly brought up, where these 2 males, they were, you know, they were abused by the system pretty much, right? They were unjustly punished because they didn't do anything. My heart goes out to them, right? But we can't like adjust the system based on the minuscule amount of people that were screwed by the system.
So what you do is you refine the process. That's what you do. You refine the process.
Right.
You don't just completely tear it down. It just looks as if they were trying to find an excuse to tear it down, to implement their own draconian process or lack of process. That's what it seems like what they're doing. Let's find some like kink in the armor. Let's find some like small fault in the process to give us an excuse to implement our own bullshit. But I think part of it, I guess maybe if I could like blame anything on maybe due process being restricted in any way, or people in a university administration making some hasty decisions, it's because they were not ready to deal with, I guess, compliance, because compliance, I guess federal funding was attached to compliance. And so they're just probably worried about federal funding. First of all, these universities were lax on dealing with rape in the first place. You see what I'm saying? So introducing a policy is not just going to automatically fix the issue. Everybody has to adjust. So if you know, attach the federal funding to compliance, then you might have a case where the teachers just want to wash their hands with it. So you might have a situation where somebody gets accused because they're just trying to wash their hands of it. It's not the process. It's not the policy. It's not the Obama era policy. It's like the application of it. You have to have the right people who pay enough attention to the issue, you know, to apply the issue. It's you know what I'm saying?
Just a few months ago, this story came out about Michigan State and about the Michigan State football team and the basketball team and how pervasive the abuses were, and you know, women being sexually assaulted and those cases just being swept under the rug. And there was somebody there that was actually talking to these women, but she couldn't do anything about it. Like they weren't being compliant. They weren't actually addressing these concerns. So like you said, just implementing the policy alone isn't good enough.
No, there has to be some like understanding of not just the policy, but like how to properly go through it, like how to execute the policy. Because it just seems as if they kind of rushed through it because, hey, we got to get this federal funding. So whatever evidence that we see of abuse, we'll just accept it as evidence. That's not the policy's fault. You know what I'm saying? That's not the policy's fault. Didn't you mention something about them kind of redefining, like, I guess, how they judge certain actions, like as far as assault, sexual assault?
Yeah, well, yeah, like they kind of redefined what sexual harassment is.
Like it has to be like extreme. They're making it to where they're like narrowing the issue about sexual assault and behavior to only include like very egregious acts. As if
the most extreme.
The most extreme. So it's like sexual abuse is acceptable as long as it's not rape.
Something like
it's almost
that.
like saying like, hey, these individuals aren't in danger as long as they're not raping people.
Right. They could be making you uncomfortable.
They could be making you
inappropriately
and that's
on campus.
But that's not enough. That's not enough.
And that's not threatening enough either.
Because what else did it say? They have to feel that their education is being threatened or something.
Right. Now, see, a lot of times, I guess what follows this, like this uncomfortable, these uncomfortable feelings because of harassment, what follows is like actual abuse, like actual like physical misconduct. So you're saying that like pretty much nothing's going to be done until there's actually something very extreme that actually happens to this victim.
I'm glad L Train brought that up because I wouldn't say always had a problem with that. Obviously, I haven't been as kind of politically active as I just became more politically active as I got older. But he makes a good point in talking about the problem with universities is they put federal funding in sports and NCAA profits over the basic rights of their students. Large universities are willing to sweep scandals under the rug.
No doubt.
That's probably most universities are centered around fundraising. You know what I'm saying?
Especially if you're at a big name program.
Big name program.
Michigan
Everything is
State.
about bringing money to the university.
Yeah.
Everything is about bringing money to the university. If you're in a town or a city that has a major university, one thing that you will always notice is property development. That's a big money-making avenue that universities tap into. And just like L Train said, NCAA profits, because their focus is different. So really, safety is kind of secondary.
But see, they're actually attacking this problem in the wrong way, and one would think like somebody would have enough smarts to actually handle this appropriately. If you have a big name institution, if you have a Michigan State, of course you don't want your football program or your basketball program, who have been very successful throughout the years, you don't want them embroiled in a national scandal. But it only reaches the level of national scandal if you don't do a damn thing about it. If you're up front, like if you actually tackle this problem head on and say that here at this university, we're not going to allow that. Guess what? I think more people are going to want to actually support your university. I think more people are going to want to come and actually learn at your university because students are going to feel safe and they're going to feel a high sense of integrity because of the actions of the people that have like some type of authority making decisions. It's like 1 + 1 = 2.
So what you're saying is doing the right thing in the long run will benefit the university because students will see the university as a place where their needs are being met.
Right.
And the safety standards are
not just the stars.
Not just the stars. Because a lot of these cases that are being covered up seem to always like be focused on sports and athletes.
No doubt. Because
the cash cows.
They feel like they can get away with it, man.
So yeah, I think that's connected. That doesn't mean athletes are the only one guilty.
Right, no
of
doubt.
This.
But that is a factor.
That's a big factor. L Train brought up.
Yeah. All right. So this isn't finalized yet. These are the proposed. I guess these are the proposed changes to Title IX.
Yeah.
Now they will have force of law. So after a brief comment period from the public, these rules will be instituted. Now, the education department, they're not actually commenting on these changes because they're saying, hey, we're still in the, I guess, developmental stages and, nothing's determined right now, blah, blah, blah. But, it really is. This doesn't have to be approved by Congress or anything like that. So, like I said, after a short public comment period.
Yeah, I read an article that these new rules won't just apply to students either. It will apply to faculty and staff, administration. So, yeah, it'll be interesting.
It's a bad look, man.
But were we expecting something that was a good look from Betsy DeVos?
No. And I think both me and Mike said, we understand like the due process aspect of it. Like we don't want anybody screwed by the system because we understand that there are these, certain instances where somebody is falsely accused.
And you never know, they may be using somebody as some sort of scapegoat. You know what I'm saying? They may say, see, we're doing something.
Right.
As a kind of a purposeful deflection, because maybe they do have a bigger scandal, like,
it's
you
possible.
know, involving in somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? So you never know.
But I think if you err on the side of caution, man, if you actually, like I said, any reasonable person, I think, could ascertain that by and large, most of these complainants are telling the truth. So nobody's saying to, destroy due process. Nobody is saying to just trample on the rights of individuals that are accused. Nobody's saying to do all that. But by these actions, like I think one can only fathom that they're being done to decrease the overall numbers of complaints. All right, so let's go to California. On Tuesday, California Governor Jerry Brown signed a bill into law that will end the state's cash bail system. Cash bail has been an issue that many have wanted reform across the country, including Senators Kamala Harris and Rand Paul. Several progressive campaigns in 2018 have highlighted this issue in their platforms because it disproportionately affects poor people, and it doesn't. It's not. I guess it doesn't matter what the crime is. If you're poor and you can't make bail, if you can't make bond, then you stay in jail. So there are many times where people are in jail for months, for years, because they can't, come up with the money to secure their release. We highlighted a case. This was a few months ago in Louisiana where over 1,000 people had been in jail for 4 years.
13. It was 1,300.
Yeah, I said over 1,000.
Over 1,000, but yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was like 1,300 people that had been in jail waiting for their trial. Just waiting for, this is pre-trial now. Waiting for the trial because they didn't have the money to secure their release.
No, these people who, like you said, a lot of them didn't even have a trial date.
No.
Had no trial date.
No.
So why are they even there?
They're just stuck because they can't come up with the money.
They can't come up with the money. Where people who can come up with the money can just get out and live their life. Right. And if those cases are backed up, most likely the people who are able to pay that bail, their cases are backed up too. So they're just living life outside of jail, unlike the people who can't afford.
And like you said, the people that can afford it, this is not dependent on the crimes they be in charge with. It could be violent. It could not be violent. It doesn't matter. So, like I said, California took a step to actually end that process. So what California is doing is monumental. But there is a concern that it isn't the right approach. So several people and organizations who were supportive once of this initiative in California have now pulled their support for SB 10. And that includes the ACLU, the NAACP, and the Human Rights Watch. So with the cash bail system right now, currently judges can impose a certain amount of money, and it's based on county to county. And that's what that's what an individual will have to use to secure their release. Okay, so per the new law eliminates the use of cash bail entirely and requires pretrial risk assessments to be considered for the preventative detention of accused criminals in every county in consultation with the state's probation officers, which supporters say will make decisions more objective. But opponents feel like this law will give judges way too much power, retaining the ultimate authority deciding whether a defendant is held until trial or not.
Well, see, that's something that they're just going to have to work through. Like this current system does not work. So, like, their concerns about the judge having too much power, we can take those seriously, but the system needs to be reformed. Like, you still have to offer something, like some kind of, like, I guess, conceptual assistance in trying to reform this system. I can see that being a concern, but I've always thought that this kind of bail system was a violation of the 14th Amendment, or the protection clause, and the equal protection clause in the 14th Amendment. Like, generally, money does allow a person more agency in life in general, but I don't think that should determine like someone's viability within a court system where the state is bringing charges against a person. You know what I'm saying? Because when you go to criminal court or civil court, that's what it is. It's the government or the state versus you, and they're presenting their case against you. And I don't think the state should support a system that provides preference to those with money. That's it's simple.
So, like you were saying, what this law will achieve is that it will take the money aspect away from determining if somebody is held until trial or not, no matter if they're rich, no matter if they're poor. So that is definitely a good thing. However, like I said, there are people that are detractors now, people that were originally supportive of this idea that feel like this is just going way too far, and they feel like this will institutionalize a racial bias because, like I said, the judges will have the ultimate authority in whether to hold somebody until trial. Now, in this country, okay, forget the rest of the world. I mean, we can talk about the rest of the world, but in this country, I think reasonable people understand that just being black alone is perceived as scary, threatening, and criminal. So, and that's just not an opinion, that is prevalent along the lines of just the regular citizens that don't have any positions of power. No, we know that people that are in positions of power, people that are in politics, people that are in law enforcement, judges, like everybody holds these same types of opinions. And, it's hard to identify who these people are sometimes. So I can understand that it is somewhat fearful to allow these judges, I guess, just sole discretion on who gets held and who does not.
And maybe that's the problem. Maybe they're already like I guess coming to this conclusion based on them thinking that that's how the system will work. Because I think there are a couple of pilot programs already out there. There are a couple of counties in Indiana who are already doing this.
And I think DC is doing something.
DC is doing something like that too.
They didn't completely erase.
They just
cash
don't.
bail.
Yeah, they didn't like make it law. They just kind of
they don't really use it.
They don't really exactly. Right. They don't use it. But there are already pilot programs out there that are showing great success, and it's really not the judge that is kind of the sole determiner in this. And I think that's the key right there. In those pilot programs, I guess there's an assessment done and there's an interview given. And based on that interview, and not just done by the judge, it's a group of individuals who interview this person to determine like whether they're a flight risk, whether they're a danger to their community. And that's how they make their determination. So it's not just, hey, judge, what do you think about this? And then the process goes forth. They send regular mail, they send email, and they send text to the person to let them know their court date. They check in with an officer periodically. And the last numbers I looked at within these pilot programs, I think the failure to appear was only like right under 10%. The failure to appeal for your trial date is under 10%. But it's important to note that simply because someone posts bail, that doesn't guarantee that they show up for the trial, which happens a lot.
Right, it does. This is from Politico. And the new system will sort alleged offenders into categories. People who are accused of committing most misdemeanors will be released without going through a risk assessment, while those who are accused of more serious crimes can be held until their arraignment or trial, dependent in large part on the decisions of judges and prosecutors. So that's, like I said, along the lines of what you're saying. Only time will tell what this is all going to play out as. Like I said, I can understand the fear of some, because we already have institutionalized racial bias in our justice system. So to feel like this may be another step, and not just another step, but California, which is oftentimes looked at as the most progressive state across the United States of America, if they make an action that will mistakenly institutionalize racial bias even more, that will lead the way for other states to make this same type of move as well. Other states that are not so progressive and may actually make even more wrong decisions that may happen in California. So again, I'm definitely on the side of ending cash bail, but I do understand the fear among some that see this as, dare I say it, a slippery slope. I don't know.
Unfortunately, when we try to change things within the system, it's going to appear that way.
Yeah, no doubt.
But I think that shouldn't like eliminate our our effort to change things.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, I'm not, I'm looking positively at this, but I also kind of look at maybe some snags that may come in there. You know what I'm saying? So
the Washington Post stated that public defenders, they wanted the option of pretrial detention limited to those charged with violent crimes. So obviously that's not something that's part of the law.
Yeah, I mean, if it can be shown that someone's not a danger to the community and it's not violent, it's not a flight risk, then they shouldn't be in jail. They should be awaiting their trial like someone who can pay that bail. You know what I'm saying? So
this is set to take place next year, October of 2019. So that's when the law will go into effect. So it's going to be a while before we actually see the results, like how it actually changes the justice system in California. And like I said, I'm all for ending the use of cash bail. So if this does have some good results, hopefully that will spur some other states from making moves like this. Or I mean, not from making moves like this, but spur states to make moves like this. So, oh yeah, another thing. This is probably not. I mean, like strange. It's strange, but the bail bond industry, they campaigned heavily against this law.
They did?
Yeah. The bail bond industry, they lobbied. They spent a lot of money campaigning against SB 10 in California.
Of course they did. Of course they did.
Dog the Bounty Hunter, he went to Sacramento to actually
because that's his livelihood. That's his livelihood. And see, and again, the problem doesn't just lie with the individuals that are tasked to protect and serve us. As far as I'm talking about, like in the suits, protect and serve us. I'm talking about those those civil servants, those suits.
Right.
Like we have people, American citizens, who make money off of things like this and are not willing to support reform efforts to better the lives and increase the chances that somebody who is seeking justice. We have American citizens who would just like, I guess, they'd forego their inclinations of empathy for a check, for some money.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No doubt, man. They're all look. Again, who else would be campaigning against this?
That's just sad, man. It's like
it makes total sense that they would, though. You're losing your check. You know, I mean, your whole industry is reliant on the cash bail system.
Yeah, and they don't really care what like situation those systems create. They just care about the fact that they're making money off of that.
That's right. Well, sad to say for you, you're gonna have to find some new work in California. So, well, in a year you will. All right, so let's go to North Korea. We haven't talked about North Korea in a little while, right? Haven't talked about that in a little while.
Donald Trump hasn't been talking about North Korea either until recently.
Interesting.
Yeah, interesting enough.
Because I mean, noting the success that he's
having in North Korea and how he never would stay silent if he was successful at North Korea, or never stay silent if he thinks he's successful at anything.
Right.
You would think he'd be boasting about the progress that has been made as far as North Korea. Keep doing it. Denuclearizing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So,
hashtag winning, right? Hashtag winning.
Hashtag denuclearize immediately.
All right. So after the Singapore summit with North Korean Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un just a few months ago, President Trump declared that North Korea was no longer a nuclear threat and would denuclearize immediately, just like Mike said. The Pentagon also stated that the United States joint military drills with South Korea would be indefinitely suspended as part of diplomatic negotiations with North Korea, just like a good faith gesture. Now, I guess that was thrown into like some confusion just yesterday because Secretary of Defense James Mattis told reporters at the Pentagon on Wednesday, he said, "As you know, we took the step to suspend several of the largest exercises as a good faith measure coming out of the Singapore summit. We have no plans at this time to suspend any more exercises." So that's I mean, it's been like 3 months now. It's been 3 months since the summit. I believe has it been about 3 months?
July?
Was it July?
June or June 12th, June 20th? Was it June?
Was it May?
Or was it May? Remember, I think
June
it was May.
12th.
It was May, and then they postponed it.
Yeah, it was. I think it was June 12th. So yeah, we're about like 2 months, coming on 3 months or so. Again, coming out of that summit, President Trump was just highlighting the many successes that was achieved by meeting with Kim Jong-un and saying that it was no doubt they are not a threat anymore. North Korea is going to denuclearize immediately. So really there's no need for us to partake in these military drills with South Korea. Of course, North Korea was, viewing that as very antagonistic,
and even Trump himself,
threatening.
And Trump himself called them provocative.
Very provocative.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Which is kind of interesting considering his Twitter rages towards Un, that he would call some actions provocative. But I mean, yeah. But to Trump, I guess the United States stopping those drills and those what he called war games, I guess was like some sort of goodwill gesture before the summit. He thought it was going to offer him some sort of like bargaining chip.
No doubt.
It's going to be influential before the Singapore summit. Summit.
That's what he thought.
That's what he thought. Now, talks now, according to James Mattis, have stalled.
Yes, according to the Secretary of Defense, talks have stalled.
Okay.
And also, it was just reported just recently that Pompeo, Secretary of State Pompeo, his trip was canceled because he was going to go talk to them.
Yeah.
But because these talks have stalled and it doesn't seem like North Korea is trying to denuclearize, Trump canceled that trip.
Well. Why would these talks stall? I mean, was there?
Oh, that's a tough question.
I mean, wasn't there like an official agreement that Kim Jong-un had to adhere to?
I'm glad.
And there was going to be like some sort of ramification, some sort of punishment.
There was an agreement. You remember, because they signed this agreement.
Right.
It had the force of weight too. I mean, like force of law. It was binding. It had provisions like South Korea and North Korea were going to continue talking about denuclearization. Okay. The United States and North Korea agreed that peace should be the objective. And then another one was that
I'm waiting for something like
I'm
waiting for the big pow, the big bang, the big wow.
I got one. See, all right, so the third one, North Korea agreed to locate the remains of U.S. soldiers that had been there for years since the Korean War, and that they would, ship those over to the United States, which, they did.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it.
So basically nothing major.
Not really, no.
So basically we got nothing.
No, we didn't get it. We got some remains, which I'm sure that was important to many people. I'm sure that was important. But on the
main objective.
Yeah, the main objective was denuclearization. That was the main objective. That's what we had to accomplish. And it was just recent weeks ago, that per United States intel, North Korea is actually trying to ramp up their nuclear capability by, building new missiles. So it doesn't seem like this whole denuclearization thing is heading in the right direction for the United States of America, at least.
So Un pretty much punked Donald Trump? Is that accurate?
Who would have saw that coming?
Not us.
Who would have saw that
coming? Our commentary was clearly driven towards this summit being ultra productive. That's how our commentary was. We thought like like Un was gonna like bend over for Trump. That's how our commentary was. We thought Un was gonna be like, yes sir, yes sir.
But all right, so there's some more information about this. So it seems like Secretary of Defense James Mattis and President Trump are not on the same page here.
You know what? So you're right, because if the war games or the military exercises were provocative then, wouldn't they be seen as provocative now?
They would, and I guess that's what Trump understands, at least now.
I think James Mattis understood that once he like said, "Okay, we're going to kind of restart these exercises again."
Right. So first let me give you a statement from the White House. It was delivered by Trump on Twitter. He said, it says, the president believes that his relationship with Kim Jong-un is a very good and warm one, and there is no reason at this time to be spending large amounts of money on joint U.S.-South Korea war games. So,
but see,
what poo-pooed that whole notion that they were going to restart it.
And I think, like, once James Mattis, like, figured out that, well, wait a second, the leader of this administration said that these exercises were provocative, and now I'm saying that, you know, we're going to restart them. You could tell he was like, oh snap, like there's a conflict here. And I think there was a redirect question, and he kind of slipped up and said the exercises never stopped.
Right.
I was like, wait a second, dog. I think he said, like, I think now, like, in context, I don't think he was, like, being completely disingenuous. The way he sounded during that, I guess that was like a Defense Department briefing,
right, at the Pentagon.
The Pentagon. The way it was sounded was some of the exercises stopped. So the exercises never completely stopped, according to the Defense Secretary.
That's out of his own mouth, right? Out of the horse's mouth.
But see, again, I feel sorry for. Well, I don't feel sorry for James Mattis. I feel sorry for him, like within a very, very like small box.
Right.
Like just in this situation,
it's not really sympathy.
It's not sympathy.
No.
It's just like he has to like. He's put in a weird position by the leader.
Right.
He's put in a weird position because now they're contradicting each other.
And then later on, he did clarify his remarks. He said that there had been no decision, quote, no decision on suspending more of the exercises following the 3 that were canceled. So I guess now he's trying to fall in line with Trump's narrative.
That's still going to end up get him in trouble because we all know Trump tends to oversell things and you're like, really? and misrepresent what's going on to make him make it look like he's doing big things.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, what I thought was funny is that the White House has recently began arguing that China is somewhat responsible for the stalled talks from the stalled negotiations with the United States and and North Korea, and this is because of the trade war that has commenced with the United States and China. They feel like China is putting some kind of undue pressure on North Korea, and that's getting in the way of this whole new denuclearization objective, and that is weak. Boy, that's a weak argument, man.
It's weak, but it's not surprising because you're gonna have to blame somebody else, especially if you fail bigly.
Yeah.
If you fail bigly, you're gonna have to blame somebody else. He wasn't talking all that. Well, he wasn't talking all that mess to begin with.
No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't making excuses to begin with.
No, this
was promoting nothing but just a broad chest and strength.
No, he was poking it out. He was poking it out.
Okay.
He was doing the level up challenge with his chest. He was doing the level up challenge with his chest, man.
All right. Oh yeah. Okay. So last night was the debate between Cynthia Nixon and New York Governor Andrew Cuomo.
You couldn't even say his name, though.
Yeah. I had Mario in my head for a second. Daddy Cuomo. But
because that's what we grew up on.
Yeah. And you know, it was contentious. It was very contentious, actually. They sparked Cynthia Nixon. She threw some bombs sometimes. And then I believe it was an interview today. She said that since he's been the governor of New York, he's been legislating like a Republican, which is funny. She tried to push back on this whole narrative that I guess Cuomo is actually a progressive and he was like a champion for the fight for 15.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
she was stating that no, he had to be dragged like pulling and
kicking
screaming
and
all this because he was like trying to get like a lesser number. And it was just because of the intense pressure that he actually, obviously, he came around and he supported it. Much like Hillary Clinton that was on the stage with him. You remember that? They
were making it like they had been for it all along.
Man. And this was a woman, Hillary Clinton, not to get off track, but this was a woman.
But you can't help but connect. Yeah.
This was a woman that I remember during one of the debates, one of the presidential debates. She said that she wasn't supportive of $15 an hour, which still isn't a living wage, but she wanted something more like $12. And we were critical of that, because it's still not a living wage. It's less than the 15. And two, this is Hillary Clinton, all about moving to the center of the aisle and trying to negotiate with Republicans. If you take 12 to them, you think you're going to really get 12? So that's what our position was and our criticism was.
Yeah, you don't say, well, I can't go for 15 because I'm for 12. You just join the battle for 15. You can't say I'm not going to join the battle of 15 because it's the wrong number. You just battle for 15.
So anyway, but like I said, they Cynthia Nixon and Cuomo, they did spar. They sparred about the MTA, MTA funding, kind of about like who opposes Trump more, corruption in office, So like I said, it was something to see. I think on a broad, I don't know how many people watched it. It was broadcast. I'm not sure how many people watched it.
I watched a little bit of it, and there was portions of it that were real, like I guess I would call it professional. Mm-hmm. They were courteous, and then it
oh yeah.
You could tell that
it got sticky.
You could tell it was cool at the beginning, and that's what I expected.
Right.
Then you could tell it was like a more of like a back and forth,
right.
Like, hey man, don't go there type stuff. There was one instance where he brought up like the fact that she didn't release her taxes or something.
Yeah, but she did.
But she ended up doing. She was like, well, if you had nothing to release, you would have released them immediately. I'm like, if you had nothing to hide,
yeah.
If you had nothing to hide, you would have released them immediately. But she did release them, and there was nothing in them.
Right.
So still harping on whether she had something to hide is kind of pointless, seeing as when she released them, there was nothing in there that points to some sort of impropriety. Mm-hmm. So always continuously pointing to the fact that she had to be asked to release them is irrelevant. And
he also tried to hit her on the idea that she's actually like, I guess, not a woman of the people or something like that, because he tried to paint her as the elite, saying that, well, she has a corporation, which many actresses and actors do have. They set up their own corporations.
But
man, look, I think this was a good look for Cynthia Nixon because, I think a lot of people are definitely familiar with her as her time as an actress in Sex and the City. I'm not in New York anymore, so I can't see her, on the ground. And I've seen a few events that she has spoken at, but not in depth. I haven't seen her speak for a damn near an hour. So to see her speak like that, it showed me that she does have these political chops, man. She knows what she's talking about. She knows it's not just like a limited scope, like a limited field that she has a know-how on. Like she has information about a lot of different ideas. She knows exactly what her platform is. She knows what she wants to do, and she knows how to get it done. So, like I said, it showed me a lot about her, and that she was actually able to spar with the sitting governor of New York and look like she was ready to take his job. So, of course, she's still looked at as the underdog. Poland has been very.
Yeah, it's been very
it's
lopsided.
A big disparity
it's
in the
lopsided.
Poland. But we know how that is. Like we just highlighted earlier in the show, in the case of Andrew Gillum,
the Poland was lopsided too.
Man, he was. I'm telling you, like I didn't look at the Poland, but I knew that he wasn't being given a chance. I knew that people thought he didn't have a chance in hell. Again, I wanted him to win. I believed in him, but just noting, just realizing what Florida is. He's not a millionaire. He's coming from behind. He's not able to spend money on advertisements. He's not able to tour the state like the other candidates will. There was one candidate that her family is notable in Florida. So it's like he was going up against the establishment with less money. You know how that presents a problem. But he was able to do it. So we've seen these like improbable wins before.
Yeah, this might be a different situation, especially dealing with his history of having corporate backing and his family legacy.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? People are kind of used to having him as governor.
Right.
And just that name.
Yeah. And there was I pull this up real quick. There was one. She said something on Twitter that we put on our Facebook page that I really believed in. It was about marijuana and why she's like the biggest reason why she's supportive of it or of marijuana legalization. Let me pull that up so I can read that off. Yeah, okay. So she said, I believe in legalizing marijuana first and foremost because it's a racial justice issue. So we have noted before how she is paramount on this issue. Like she is a leader on this issue. And she has stated before something like the people that get involved in actual like the retail business of marijuana sales should be the people that have been most disenfranchised by the criminal aspect of it.
Oh, you mean
people of color.
Oh, you mean like reinvest in the people that were hurt the most?
No doubt. And when we heard that, it was like, whoa, I have not heard that before.
It does make sense to kind of reinvest that money or that attention and energy to the people who have been affected by drug policy.
No doubt. So, like I said, she's real, man.
Most affected by drug policy.
She's real, and I will point out. I think there was some, I guess, detractors to that comment. I will point out that it's not just about marijuana legalization because along with that, you must address the people that are already suffering from the consequences of being imprisoned by those marijuana laws. So you have to address that at the same time that you're addressing marijuana legalization. There's no good sense in legalizing it while people are still in jail for old crimes having to do with marijuana. That makes no damn sense.
Oh, it makes perfect sense.
It makes sense, but
you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know what
because
you're saying.
That seems like the next logical level to go. You see what I'm saying?
1 + 1 = 2.
It seems like the next logical level to go. So if someone is not taking it to that level, there's a reason why they're not taking it to that next level.
Right.
Either they don't care about those people in jail, or they care more about the prison industry having bodies.
Right. So
they're trying to like half-ass it.
No doubt. So look, like I said, I'm not in New York anymore, but that primary is coming up soon. I believe it's on September 13th. I believe so. That's in about 2 weeks or so. Yeah, that's 2 weeks from now. It's on a Thursday. So look, if you're in New York, if you know anybody that lives in New York, definitely get that message out for her. And just make sure you get out the vote, man. Just make sure that if you want some change, I mean, if you want somebody that it seems to be she's doing the right thing, she's gonna do the right thing, she's gonna stand up for people, regular people, not big money interests, not corporate interests. Vote for Cynthia Nixon. All right, so I believe that's the end of the show. Well, the end of our portion of it, the stories that we have to cover. So what we're gonna do now, we are going to open this thing up for calls. We are excited about what you might have to say about some of the stories that we have covered tonight. So if you would please give us a call, the number is 669-900-6833. You don't have to put in the ID number, which is displayed on the screen. If you have anything to say, if you have a comment or a question, like I said, this is your opportunity to be heard on the program. Hold on. Will saying LTMB says she is real. Who is that? Oh, we're talking about Cynthia Nixon.
Oh yeah. Said I was going to mention it in the middle of the show, but it kind of went past me. But for those individuals who are still listening attentively, we are changing the show time back to 7. The show start time will be back to 7 p.m. as of next week. So the next show we do on Tuesday and going forward until further notice will be at 7 p.m. So we're going from 8 to 7
p.m. Eastern
Standard Time, y'all. So, oh yeah, I saw this mention at the beginning, but we had already started the show by the time I saw it. But apparently, if it's Malicious's birthday.
Oh, is that correct?
Yeah, I heard that. I seen her say it at the beginning, but we had already started, so I didn't want to destroy the flow. But yeah, happy birthday, Malicious.
Happy birthday, Malicious.
Happy birthday.
I would sing for you, but I don't want to.
Happy birthday to you.
Go ahead, Stevie. Yeah, Malicious is a loyal supporter of ours, and we always appreciate that support. We always see her in the chat. I want to say she's one of our patrons as well. I believe so. But I know she has definitely supported us financially many times. So big shout out to Malicious, man. We hope that you enjoy your birthday. Enjoy your birthday weekend too, because
go shorty.
It's on the way.
It's your birthday.
All right, so we got a caller waiting in.
That shows my age right there, dog.
It does.
Gonna
I don't even know what you're talking about. I must be younger, so I don't know.
No, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That's that 50. That's that 50 cent.
All right, so let's set this so they're cutting it off. All right, so I think we are all ready to go. All right, so our first caller of the evening is from the 704. I believe that's the North Carolina area code, so this must be Will. What's going on? Welcome to the program.
How y'all doing?
Good, man.
This is Will from North Carolina.
What's up, man?
Yeah.
I don't know much. Man? I'm doing fine. I'm doing good. Yeah, I was gonna. Yeah, I heard what you were saying about Cynthia Nixon. I'm not familiar at all with her, but I did want to you know, what you were saying sound good though. That's something that definitely needs to be addressed. But I did want to ask you guys what you think about Ocasio-Cortez's statement or tweet that she made about you know, John McCain. I thought that was pretty. I don't know, man. It's just another. To me, it's another. Just another sort of example of some things that I've seen with her that are cause for concern.
Well, before you continue, let us know, because I haven't seen it. Do you know what it is?
I have no clue. I'm talking about. Look it up as he's talking.
Okay, I'm sorry. I guess I assumed. Yeah, the statement she made was something about. I don't have the direct quote, but it did say that John McCain, I believe it was an example of unparalleled decency, something like that. I mean, did she praise McCain basically? I believe Bernie Sanders did as well.
Right.
And I believe that's a sign.
Okay, let me see what she said. All right, so she tweeted John McCain's legacy represents an unparalleled example of human decency and American service. As an intern, I learned a lot about the power of humanity in government through his deep friendship with Senator Kennedy. He meant so much to so many. My prayers are with his family.
That kind of makes me want to puke.
For me, look, man, for the regular person, I think most people understand that if you have a critical view of McCain, again, it's understood. It's understood because you understand what he was about, the kind of policies he was trying to implement, his voting record, the wars that he supported, some of his comments, being an opponent of Martin Luther King Day as a federal holiday, just many different things.
Pretty much supporting bombing civilians.
No doubt,
bombing civilians himself.
It's like I say, it's very understandable for anybody to be critical of him and not just bestow praise upon him. But I will say, for people that are especially like sit-in Congress members, your representatives, your senators, your governors, what have you, I don't see that they're gonna make any kind of other kind of statement about Senator John McCain.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I'm gonna think a little bit more about it.
I mean, I understand. I understand Will's.
I understand what you're saying.
Apprehension. But it's like I think like Will's expectations.
I think she's gonna lose a lot of support because of it.
Yeah, I think like progressive. Yeah, like the progressive kind of. I guess the progressive spectrum on Twitter went crazy. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if she's gonna lose support. I think she got criticism in the moment. I think we're far away from the actual general election. We're far enough away for it kind of be swept in the into the wind like dust.
And another thing, it seems like she had actual like personal communication with John McCain. Now, I haven't met Hillary Clinton. Never. I've never seen her in person or anything like that. I've heard that she is very approachable. I've heard that she's very like charismatic, like she's friendly. So
don't downplay y'all's love affair, though.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that when you have a personal connection to somebody, and we see this all the time in the Senate, just in Congress in general, people that have like very different ideas. You can be a damn pariah because of your positions on a whole host of issues. But then if you're on the other side of it, it seems like they can still come together and have like a very respectable kind of conversation and just mutual respect for one another. So this isn't something that is like foreign to me, I guess.
I think like I think like your expectations for our representatives kind of center around them being very like expressing a very kind of like woke sense of existence as far as their politics go, and like just being like so forthright that it makes you nut in your pants. That's kind of what you know what I'm saying? Well, you want them to be so forthright.
What I was going to say, if you'll let me for a second, what I was going to say is there's a lot of ways to approach McCain's death than to go as far as to this straight bullshit of unparalleled human decency. That's bullshit. Like, that's not even, like, you can say whatever you want. You can say it in a nice way, but that is bullshit to say unparalleled human decency. You're telling me that that's more human decency than I mean, I can name a lot of people, so that would not be unparalleled human decency. I mean, that's pretty strong.
But think about like who she's talking about, John McCain. If this was somebody like Donald Trump that had,
I mean, I was ready to celebrate when he died. Honestly, like I was really happy to hear that he died.
No, I'm not gonna celebrate. I'm not gonna celebrate nobody's. I don't care what they did.
Oh, I will. I will for sure. Somebody that's killing a bunch of people, a murderer, a war criminal, I'll celebrate the hell out of their death.
You can see the benefit in maybe somebody's death. You can see like how that will benefit overall humanity. But the death of John McCain is going to do anything for humanity, because we're going to keep chugging along this train that is American imperialism. That's going to keep chugging along without John McCain. So the cause, or like the symptom of his death, means absolutely nothing. But anyway, what I'm saying is that
more to go, but that's one down. That's something for me to celebrate.
But anyway, like I'm saying, John McCain is one of those Congress members that, like, if you're on the left side of politics, and I guess the who you would want on the right side, who you would want to debate, who you would want to have as your counterpart on that right side, that would probably be somebody like a John McCain. That's what I'm saying. So I believe that people that do have like a personal connection, that did have a personal connection to him, they appreciate that he wasn't as divisive as others. He wasn't as rigid as others. He wasn't Trumpy.
I'm glad he's dead, and I hope some more of them die too. I'll be very happy when several more of these dinosaurs
they're going to have to die all at once. When they die.
I know they won't, but I'll be counting each one that goes, though, and I'll be popping a bottle every time, because it's just not. I'm not gonna pretend at all that you're not a sick, disgusting human being that deserves to die when you're killing innocent people, when you're supporting drone attacks on innocent people and overthrowing democratically elected governments in favor of dictators who are going to starve their own people for just to enrich themselves. I find it disgusting, and that kind of human being is trash to me and garbage, and I celebrate the death of a person like that. But that's just, that's my personal belief.
I can't really feel a certain type of way about that, Will, because we ain't here to tone police you, man. Mm-hmm, so because we can see where that's coming from. So it's coming from it's coming from the right place. So I can't tell you how to, and we can't tell you how to like respond.
Oh, I know that's not a common thing to hear somebody say, especially in public.
I feel you.
I know it's not a common thing to hear somebody say. I can understand your
position that you don't think that Ocasio-Cortez. You think Ocasio-Cortez should have been above her personal feelings and about McCain, and kind of, I guess, articulated a more broad outlook instead of just. Yeah, so I see what you're talking about. Like, you think she should have been bigger than that.
But I think we said this
That's
before.
Pretty harsh. Hardcore, unparalleled.
But hold up. We've said this before, specifically about Ocasio-Cortez, but about a lot of other people too. Politics is a game, and you still have to play the game. It's not just about ideals. It's not just about what you support. It's not just about trying to do the right thing for people, not taking money from super PACs and corporations. It's not just about like how good you are as a person and how much you want to actually be a public servant. It's about playing the game as a politician as well. She has not even been elected yet. She's not even in Congress yet.
There's a lot of people out there that don't want to hear these kind of comments come out of somebody who claims to be progressive. And also, I think that if we can sit here and call somebody who murders like 10 prostitutes a serial killer and get in public and proclaim how disgusting and trash that human being piece of garbage is, but we can't talk about somebody who's destroyed the lives of millions of people in that same way.
It wasn't just on him.
I think we can. I think we can, and we have. You are now. Mm-hmm. You are now. You're freely doing that. We did that last show. Right. We had kind of a different take because we didn't kind of want to pile on to the truth that people were, articulating. We just kind of wanted to take it in a different direction. People are actually doing that. Yeah. I think people in your political circle, our political circle, are actually doing that. We are free to do that. But I think Will right here is saying is that, like, Ocasio-Cortez is not us. That I think that's the
I
difference.
understand where
She's
you're
running for
coming from.
national-
She's running for national office, so like I think that is the position that she's in. I think that's kind of what Will is trying to say. Like he's
And
not
I think you might-
he's not saying you're wrong. He's not saying you're wrong for your view of John McCain, and I'm surely not saying you're wrong. You're correct. I think he's just making a distinction between those of us in the citizenry that can be more honest and more forthright about his legacy, and kind of be in a position to be that way more so than somebody like Ocasio-Cortez.
Yeah, I think his legacy is on track with a person like I'll go ahead.
No, man, no. I was finished, man. I was waiting on you, dog.
Yeah, I think you know, I don't know, man. It's just I can't think of his name.
Wait, let me ask you a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
If Ocasio-Cortez is like Will from North Carolina, and she even puts out a statement saying something along the lines of John McCain was a war criminal, John McCain doesn't deserve any sympathy, or something like that, something that is not supportive of John McCain, something that's not like sympathetic whatsoever, what do you think the result would have been?
I think it would have been a pretty popular statement. Honestly, I do. I mean, you look at it, it's the people who are not have a voice because our voting machines are rigged, so they can say what they want and play the game they want because they know they're not going to get voted out for it because our votes don't count when you have a rigged system. I think the majority of the people in the country would actually be more supportive of a statement that this is a war criminal who, if you want to be nice and say, is unfortunately not with us anymore. Okay. I think it is fortunate, but
let me ask you another question. Who shapes opinions in this country?
Who does what?
Who shapes opinions in this country?
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
Like who builds who like promotes narratives in this country? The answer is the mainstream media.
You said
the mainstream.
You said shapes opinion. Yeah, that would be the mainstream media and
right.
And
what do you think they would have said about it? What do you think other Democrats in office, Republicans in office, what do you think they would have said about her? What do you think the narrative would have been?
I said that I see where you're coming from, but you can't be halfway progressive, man. You can't pretend and talk the language and then show your true colors at every turn and expect us to believe. You know, I mean,
I think you're making a different point there. I think that point is kind of separate from the major point
it might
about
be
how people. I'm fine. I'm not saying that point is like wrong. I can't really say it's wrong.
It's just that weight behind what she said.
Because that's like something that's your opinion. I can't really say your opinion is wrong. I just disagree with it.
Right. That is
like, you know what I'm saying? I can't really say that. I'm not even gonna say it's wrong. But what I will say is I do disagree with how people would receive a statement that you were hoping for.
Yeah,
like I don't think people would receive that.
I wasn't expecting much
I'm sorry.
Anyway.
I don't think the majority of people. I think there's a large portion of voters and people out there that would receive it well. I can't deny that. Yeah. But if you're talking about the overwhelming majority, nah, I can't co-sign that. I ain't gonna sit there and say
you might be right, but I can say that I didn't expect anything different from her though.
No, I don't expect anything different than people in Congress, though. I mean, seriously, you can't minimize the fact that you have to play the game at some point, and many points actually.
But that's what Bernie Sanders is doing. But there is actually a real chance for a third party, and they have and people who are in the forefront of trying to make that happen have made many invitations to Bernie Sanders. And his response is, no, I'm not going to accept that. I won't accept that.
What real chance are you saying? There's a real chance?
I'm sorry?
You said there's a real chance?
I do believe there's a real
opportunity
chance
for a third party? Where?
Yeah, I do believe there's a real chance for a third party. And there's people who are working hard on it. I mean, and let me say this. Look at the election numbers. What did they say? They said Jill Stein got 1% of the vote, and that crazy libertarian dude got like, what was it, 7%? I believe it was. I mean, are you really expecting anybody to believe that? Like, do you believe that?
Yeah, I do.
Do you?
Actually, I do.
Because I don't believe that. And how can you confirm it?
I mean, well, actually, I don't. Maybe Joe Stein didn't believe that too. Maybe that's why she was advocating for those recounts, or maybe she was just trying to fundraise. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, that's obvious, man. It don't take much to know that's not true. It's just like the rigged elections that we see in some other countries who have the types of governments or the people in power who are rigging their elections. Russia is one of them. Russia is one that does that, and the ones who have the most support in Russia are the most have the most opposition, the best chance of opposing Putin. They will do the same thing to their numbers in their elections. So, you know, I like that Russia did accept Snowden in and allowed him to stay there. They took the moral high ground on the United States like they have in Syria and many other ways. But they have Putin's very corrupt. Their government is very corrupt as well. So I just, I think that we can't. I can't be supportive of a politician who's gonna keep propping up the baloney, the lies, and
this
propaganda.
Is why I look, see, again, I understand how that didn't ring in your ear the right way, and it's like it's negative to you. The reason why, like, it's pretty much nothing to me is, one, the reasons I laid out, saying that you do have to play politics, but two, there's no there's no actual negative result by her just being like, hey, I feel bad for the McCain family. McCain was a stand-up guy, blah 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 blah. Like, what's that's not a vote. Like, if she votes the wrong way, best believe I'm gonna be like, that's whack. That, like, what are you doing there? You're supposed to be a progressive, right? Like, what was your platform? You just turned around.
She will vote. I'm gonna go ahead and make a prediction, man. I think she's gonna make some votes that you're not gonna be pleased with. That's just a prediction, but
she could.
And I know you guys have said that she could.
She hasn't done anything to make me believe that she would. Not at
no,
this
I know
point.
you guys have said that. We'll have to wait and see. I know that. I'm not. Trying to say anything like opposing you or anything at all, because I know you said that we'll have to wait and see. That's what you said, and you're right. But I'm
you're just
I
a
feel
little
like
weary right now. You're more weary.
Very, very.
Okay. All right.
Very much.
There was
one other thing, but if you have somebody waiting.
No. I was just gonna say, Gary Johnson. He actually only got about a little bit over 3% of the overall vote.
You were right about Jill Stein. She got
it was like 3%. Okay.
Yeah.
My fault. I knew I might have been wrong about that, but
I think the
1% for Jill Stein, we know that's not.
What, man?
We know Jill Stein had more support than 1% though. Like that's that's crazy.
So, do we?
That's crazy.
How do we know that though? Seriously, like
maybe those who supported her didn't vote. Maybe they were the ones who sat out because they figured it was pointless. So you might be right about her having. You might be right about her having more support. Whether that support actually showed up to the polls is a different story.
I think she got more than 1% of the people who voted. I do believe she got more than 1%.
I think the support for Jill Stein looked bigger than it actually was on social media. She didn't get a lot of national attention. I don't follow
social media like that. I don't even have Twitter or nothing like that. I'm just going by the fact that the Green Party has historically made some waves in the past. I mean, and recently, right. I do believe that 1% looks like baloney, the way to try to discredit her.
I'm inclined to say that 1% is like lower than I anticipated based on the election year. So yeah, I'm surprised too.
I don't think she would have got more than 10 or 15% even.
We saw though. I
don't think she would have got more than.
Just based on who.
No, I'm not saying she would have got a lot of support or would have come close to winning. I just think 1% is that is funny, man. I've seen this happen before.
I understand what point you're trying to make. I mean, again, and even
she was the biggest threat to the establishment. She wanted to do away with fossil fuels. So, I mean,
she wasn't a big threat
like
in the Green
Party,
Party, man.
I don't like to get into things that I don't have facts for, and I can't back that up with fact. I'm just saying there is enough
I mean, if you're just saying like threat in
there's enough
general,
to
as
say
in
that
like
looks
just
funny.
her like if she was ever to gain a lot of visibility and be able to reach a lot of people, if you're
Her
just talking
ideas
about
would be
her
threatening.
ideas are threatening. So I understand what you mean. Like am I correct in saying that her ideas are threatening? Whether she's an actual
And I don't think
threat,
Jill sounds perfect at all. I think she's a statist, and she would have rolled in line with certain things. I'm not saying she's perfect, but I think what she was wanting to do as far as fossil fuels are concerned was very threatening. Her ideas were very threatening. And I think there is enough to say without much doubt that is really fishy. But, that's all I can say. And so that's not a big point because I can't prove that. But, I did want to say, just see what you guys thought about what Ocasio-Cortez said. I know we expanded on that a little bit. There was a little different direction I want to go in if I have time.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
yeah, we don't got nobody waiting. Got a few minutes.
Okay. Well, as far as, I don't want it to go into something that sounds off the wall or crazy or anything, and see how it fits into the show you're doing, the type of show you're doing. So I do want to say that I do think this is very important to, as a society and as a whole, and politically and just socioeconomically, I think it's important. There are some things that are very important that people in general, for the most part, are going to have to start realizing. And one of those things is the way we judge people on their behavior, and this sort of this individualism that we have. And we kind of, I think a lot of us can understand how individualism and capitalism go together and how it can be very harmful. But what I want to get to is the issue of free will, for instance. I think we need to, and this goes to show, like I've heard you guys say people are too irrational, make statements like that, and you're right, they are right now. But I think there's a lot less of it inherent than a lot of people realize. And like the issue of free will, I have something to cite here. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I don't think we have free will. I think if you come to a decision at any point in your life, you think you make a choice, but the choice you make is going to be based on your prior experiences, the information you have, what you think. For instance, one thing is from Scientific American, and I just looked these things up. I've been of this belief for a very long time, but I was trying to find a couple of things that sort of support it. Scientists say, so this is the prevailing theory among scientists and neuroscientists. They say that free will probably doesn't exist. The urge, don't stop believing. So what I've seen is, I've seen some people come out. There are some people who talk about free will not existing the way we believe it does. But what I have seen more often than that, where people usually in some sort of position higher up on the socioeconomic hierarchy who say, yes, that's true, but we don't want to start acting as if that's the truth. And my belief is it doesn't harm anything. People are still going to carry on. I think it would just affect the way we judge other people and the way we start dealing with problems. Like if you have a lot of people out here shooting each other, if you think increasing the number of police is going to help something, or increasing sentences for violent crimes or something like that, you're completely negating or failing to deal with the problem of poverty, for instance. That is one thing that is directly correlated to crime in general. So what I'm saying is, I think we should be careful not to be fooled by these false solutions to problems. Like, we can solve the problem of poverty. That is a political choice in America. And, instead of talking about that when crime goes up because poverty gets worse, we start talking about a lot of other ways to deal with it. instead of going straight to the problem. And before I let kick it over to you from bigthink.com, the headline is, "Do you believe in free will?" And it says maybe you should, even if you don't. So that just goes to show that that's how it's being reported. That what's believed in the scientific community is being reported as, okay, we can't keep defending that free will is real. You know, it's becoming pretty clear that it's not, and we urge everybody to continue to act as if it is a real thing. Go ahead.
I mean, it depends on what you constitute as free will and what what you're defining as free will. If you're just defining free will as someone having the agency to make choices, I do think it is legitimate to ask where those choices came from and where those choices originate from, whether it be from the society that they live in, whether it be from their upbringing. I do think that there is some validity to that as far as people making choices. I don't think that deals with the concept of free will far enough, though, because we have proven as human beings to be able to break away from ideas that came before us. So, like, free will just being, the conversation of free will just being centered on specific decision and specific choices, to me, seems a bit narrow. Because, like, will, which is kind of ironic that that's the subject here, with your name being Will. But I think, you know what I'm saying? I think the concept of, if you think about will, I don't think, like, specifically, I guess, talking about that subject just in regard to choices, like, is enough. Like, will.
You mind if I jump in for 1 second?
To me, will, I can, like, another word for will would be like notion or idea or thought, which we do kind of have, like, freedom to have, even within the confines of a society that we've been brought up in, and the constructs of society. If we did not, then society would never change. We would never ever move forward. It's more or less
right, and that's why I say that we
utilize our free will.
Nobody has an original thought. Our society moves forward because we put various ideas together to create what often looks like new ideas, but nothing's ever completely original. And that's how we do continue to move forward. And one way that I think we should take this into consideration is, okay, say you have a guy who kills 10 little girls. I mean, the sickest thing you can think of, and does God knows what before he kills them. We should put that guy somewhere where he can't harm other people, for sure. But we should do that, and we shouldn't do it for punishment. That's another thing. We should stop trying to punish what we consider criminal behavior. Some behavior is truly criminal, but often what people get arrested for, like we were talking about marijuana and many other things, are not truly criminal behavior and shouldn't be in that realm. Should be dealt with as a health or mental health. You know, that's what I'm saying is, you know, if we can take somebody who does something completely awful like that and not deal with what really caused that behavior, then it's easy for
actually what caused that free
somebody to say, "Hey, he's an evil person."
Well, let me interject, because you I don't know. It sounds like you're kind of moving around a little bit, but you said that you don't think, like, free will exists because nobody has an original thought, and I'd push back against that, because...
No, I didn't say that.
Yeah, you did.
No, I don't think it doesn't exist because people don't have an original thought. I'm just saying that people don't have an original thought. And what I was saying, real quick, before you go, what I'm saying, it's very easy to say that
people have original thought, but people don't have original thought.
Well, let me finish this real quick. You can say this is an evil person and take advantage of that and get people to give up their security or their freedom for security. That's what I'm saying. It's being taken advantage of, and it's keeping us in this place where we're at.
That just seems like you're going into a different topic, though. I don't know how that.
How is it a different topic? I mean, it deals with why we need to understand whether or not free will, exists.
But there are other countries that don't imprison people like we do. I mean, I don't know that deals with free will. That deals with
cultural upbringing. That deals with culture, like, or what you would call it, like, that deals with culture.
That deals with corruption.
Well, I mean, there's different ways you can talk about. No, I'm just saying that there's different ways you can talk about free will and even the reason for having this discussion. But
hold on, you said.
I mean, even if you believe in free will, you can't deny that.
You said
you can't deny that.
Original thoughts.
Original thought.
That's what you said.
Is that what you're asking me about the original thoughts?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're saying there's. Yeah, I mean, let me give you an example. Okay.
Thoughts.
Yes, I don't believe there's original thought. I believe there are ideas and things that often get treated as original, and people in a capitalist society profit greatly from them, but it's not something that they completely and totally come up with themselves. Look at how our technology moves forward. It builds off of existing technology.
We're not now
you're going to the economy.
You're going to the economy. It's
free will, free will and decision making. That doesn't just have to do with the economy. Like a capitalistic economy.
The capacity for
I know it doesn't have to just do with the economy. What I'm saying is that idea gets exploited. That people have original ideas because then we start treating people like they're original, like they're somehow unique and deserve to have more than other people. And it's not the case. It's just based on fortune and luck and chance.
I mean, there's some truth in what you're talking about, but now you're talking about something different. Now you said exploiting original ideas. That still doesn't discount the concept of people having original thoughts, original notions, and original ideas in general, like original thoughts. Or just like,
I mean,
I know, like, ideas are pretty saturated right now, no doubt. Like the whole idea of like idea creation is saturated. But still, it doesn't mean that original thought or original idea creation is no more. It can't be found in society anymore.
That's fine. I mean, you don't have to believe me. I'm not asking you to take my word for it. Well, I'm just putting it out there.
This is a discussion.
I mean, like, you're attacking like one sentence I said to try to go after everything I'm saying. And
what we're saying is that you're kind of bouncing around, so we got to pick
a broad range of things right now.
So what? Like, we can't address everything you're saying because you are bouncing around. So we got to address at least one thing at a time.
Right. But you're not addressing one thing at a time. You're saying, I'm going to attack this one sentence he said to try to blow up everything I'm saying. I mean, and you can. That's your choice. But I'm just saying that I don't know why you're doing that. I don't understand why you're doing that.
You said attacking one sentence. That was one thing you said. Like I said, I'm addressing one issue that you talked about because it wasn't. I don't think it was connected to something else that you were talking about. So I wanted to focus on this right chair.
That's fine. What you want to focus on was original idea for a moment. Okay, so you don't believe, or you do believe that human beings just have original ideas that are completely original to the person, and is not probably an amalgamation of different ideas put together in an original way.
I think both are true.
Both are true. Yes,
both are true.
Yes, I think both are true. I can agree with you in saying that. Yes, yes, I guess we are all an amalgamation of different ideas and thoughts that have come before us. Yes, like society is a collection of ideas. I can't deny that. Like I think that part of it is definitely true. Obviously, there are certain concepts, ideas, and thoughts that I have adopted and inherited. I sift through and pick out that aren't original, or I combine to make like something conceptually new or seemingly new. But again, that can be true. That can be true as well as people having original thoughts. Like, because they came from somewhere first, right?
Mm-hmm. Had to.
I believe that. Yes, it's a combination of different things. That's what I'm saying. But it put together in an original way. Of course, that's how new things get into our society. Of course, but what I'm saying is, I believe that all of those ideas and the outcome of those ideas, when it comes to things that we built in our technological advancement, I believe all of that belongs to all of us. I don't think it's something that belongs to one person who who happened to be the one by chance came up with
you're just kind of talking about
now you're getting into collective conscious now.
You're talking about like being a product of your environment, which of course we all are a product of our environment. But to say that that leads to not unoriginal like thought creation, like I don't think that
I'm moving the thoughts
that
forward. Of course, I mean it is different to say that people have original ideas or not. To decide whether or not people have original ideas and then talk about whether or not those ideas belong to us all collectively. I understand that that's different.
But you're setting the bar way too high, though. Like the only way that it seems like the only way you're saying like an original idea could be had if somebody is sitting alone in a room and has absolutely no communication with the outside world whatsoever. So every thought that they have is entirely their own.
Every thought would be based on what? Be based on what they see and what they've experienced. As a matter of fact, a baby would die if they were born and put into just a blank room with not another human being touching them. They would die just from the fact of not having human contact. So, I mean, we can't even survive without. We're that much of a social animal that a baby, for instance, has to survive. I mean, like I said, you could give them food, but if they have absolutely no human contact, they would die from that. So, I'm just saying, you're talking about putting somebody into a room and what their ideas would be. I mean, they wouldn't have any. They wouldn't live to have any. That's all I was saying about that.
I'm not talking about a newborn, though, man.
I'm not making this up, man. I'm not coming. I'm saying
I
like
didn't say you
I
were
can't give
making
you
it up, man.
We know it's not your original thought, so it's okay. It's okay. It's all right. It's not on you.
Okay,
we know it's not your original thought, so it's not on you, bro.
I mean, I don't have this all put together right now with all the references, citations. I'm telling you what I've learned. And I did try to give a few citations to get it started. But like I said, I don't have citations for everything I'm saying, but I promise you I'm not making it up. But don't take my word for it either. If I don't give you a citation, don't take my word for it. I'm not asking you to, for sure. But I just wanted to get into, like, we need to understand ourselves. We need to understand human beings if we're going to have a society that's rational. You know, we can't have these false ideas and beliefs about humanity and think we're going to build something that makes sense off of that.
Okay.
That was kind of what I'm getting to.
I can co-sign that statement. I respect that statement. So.
All right, well,
but, I mean, I'm sorry I don't have enough time. I wish I did right now.
Nah, man.
But go ahead.
Look, like I said, look, this was an interesting debate, and like I said, we definitely haven't talked about that on the show, and like I said, we appreciate you calling in and bringing that to the forefront, man. I mean, like I said, we don't always have to agree, and I don't think that we're saying that you're making up, some things or anything like that. I trust that, you saw this somewhere and you're trying to communicate that to us. It's all good, man. It's all good.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it. I do appreciate that, and I hope everybody's eyes didn't glaze over going through when I was talking about it, but I appreciate it.
All right, well, man, thank you for calling in, man. We hope you have a good weekend.
All right, man, you too. Bye.
All right.
Gene and L Train, your request is denied. There's going to be no diagrams provided that are based.
I saw a Venn diagram.
A Venn diagram.
Nah, I'm not doing that.
Not happening. Juck is gonna look like the worst kind of abstract art ever, dog.
That'd be way too much.
It's gonna, you know what it's gonna look like? You know what it's gonna look like, or you know what it's gonna cause people to do if there was any kind of diagram made based on this conversation. You know those memes that have like the calculations going, like floating around with somebody thinking, and they're doing the calculations, and it looks like a bunch of different mathematic symbols going all over the place. That's what's going to happen. That's going to be the outcome.
That's what you think right there. Yeah.
It's going to be that dude going like,
see. But anyway, all right. I think that's all we got for y'all tonight. We're going to be back next week on Tuesday.
7
p.m.
7
Eastern Standard Time. We're going to change all the imagery. Try to change all of it for Facebook and YouTube and all of that so everybody's not confused when we show up at 7 p.m., 1 hour earlier. Next week, okay? So next week is another primary week. And we're going to see Massachusetts on September 4th, and we're going to see Delaware on September 6th. So key races that are in Massachusetts. Ayanna Pressley is going up against Representative Michael Capuano for the 7th District in Massachusetts. But we see, you see, man? See, end of the show, dog.
They started it, man.
Excuse me.
They started it. It was Gene and L Train started it.
All right. So anyway, we have talked about Ayanna Pressley and Representative Michael Capuano before. I believe this is in May that we talked about them. Now, both of them, there's not a lot of daylight between them. They both categorize themselves as progressives. Seems like they both are. Michael Capuano has held this seat. Well, I think it's been redistricted a couple times, but he has held office since 1999. So it's going on 20 years that he's been in office. I am supportive of Ayanna Pressley's campaign, if for no other reason than this dude has been in office for 20 years. Like, get out of office. No, man. No, I'm not for all 20. No, get up out of. No, stop it. And then he did also vote for that Blue Lives Matter bill as well. So, sorry. Get up out of office, man. Like, I'm somebody that's supportive of term limits. 20 years, man. Sorry. Retire. Get the hell out of office, man. Straight up. So I'm supportive of Ayanna Pressley's campaign. We'll see how that works. Also in Massachusetts, Democratic candidate Rachel Rollins. She's running to become the next Suffolk County District Attorney. So that Suffolk County houses Boston, which makes this a very major race. So the incumbent in this race right now is retiring. So that opens up a great opportunity for some real reform in the city of Boston and in the whole county of Suffolk. So she's somebody that's like a Larry Krasner type that's trying to, occupy this seat as a DA and actually impose criminal justice reform changes. So she's somebody that talks about mass incarceration. She's talked about ending cash bail. She's talked about the corruption involving close relationships between law enforcement and the DA. She's talked about having outside investigations in the cases of police shootings, like officer involved shootings.
Yeah, because we all too often the way these things play out, the individuals that are in charge of in charge of these situations where officers are supposed to be held accountable
too cozy
are too cozy.
Too cozy. So like I said, she is like a Larry Krasner type, the DA that's in Philly right now, Pennsylvania, and Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, that is really just making some really good changes for the city of Philadelphia. First week in office, getting rid of a number of prosecutors that weren't about his agenda. So, like I said, we need more of these types of individuals in these roles as district attorneys in cities, because it's such an important position because they hold the power of prosecution. It's that simple. So definitely support Rachel Rollins. Throw with some money. If you live in the Boston area, if you live in Suffolk County, definitely vote for her. If you know anybody in that county, definitely get out the word for Rachel Rollins. It's only, 4 more days, I believe. 5 more days. Yeah, about 5 more days, yeah. So it's not much time. She is definitely, I think she's behind in the, of course she's probably behind in the whole money and spending money. So she could definitely use some money for her campaign and these 5 days. Also, there's another there's another candidate for DA in the state of Massachusetts, and it's at neighboring county, Middlesex County, and her name is Donna Padalano. And I'm not as familiar with her candidacy as I am with Rachel Rollins, but she does seem like she wants to be a reformer. I'm not sure if she's the same exact candidate as Rachel Rollins. Both of them, Rachel Rollins and Donna Padalano, were endorsed by the Boston Globe. And in the article that was written about them, they said that they believe that they would be real criminal justice reformers. So, like I said, we need more of these Larry Krasner types occupying spaces as district attorney, because we understand that is a level where it's very important, and corruption is rampant.
That'll be a big one, because that's a big city.
Boston.
It's
a huge city, right? Well, let me not say huge. It's a big city. It's a big city. I think it's over. Well, if you're talking about the whole county too, I mean, it's a pretty big area. So definitely, it's important to get more of those types in office. So that's all I really wanted to say about Massachusetts. Again, that's going to be on September 4th, Delaware on September 6th. So we'll definitely be talking about what's going on in Massachusetts on Tuesday. Delaware, for the moment, I have no news on Delaware. I don't know what's going on in Delaware right now. I don't think I know what's going on in Delaware. Bernie Sanders' son is in New Hampshire, right? I think it's in New Hampshire.
I think it's New Hampshire. It's not Delaware.
I think it's in New Hampshire. I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, before we forget, Gear Randon sent us some cheese. Appreciate that. I think that's the only one I think we need to mention.
Appreciate that, Gear Randon.
Gear Randon.
Always supportive of LTMB. Thank you very, very much, Gear. I wonder if we're saying that right too.
I know. Yeah, let us know if we're pronouncing that incorrectly.
Could be Gaillard.
Could be. Yeah, I see. I just naturally pronounce it Gear.
Yeah. No problem, Will. Said, thanks, LTMB, for giving us the opportunity to express our ideas. No doubt, man. We appreciate everybody that has been active in the chat section. Definitely want to throw a shout out to Will for having the guts to call in. Because it doesn't take, I don't think it takes guts, you know? Look, I think everybody has some passionate ideas, things that they know more about than others, and we would just wish that more people would call in and convey that to everybody else. You know, we want to make this a community environment. Yeah. Get your ideas out there. You know.
Yeah, call in with your original ideas. Call in with your original ideas. Shout out to Malicious again. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Malicious.
Oh, that was you.
I was about to, and then I was like,
dog, see,
nah.
I heard it. I heard
you heard the tone, right?
I heard the tone come out, man.
I was like, nah. See, you already got me coughing. I'll probably bust it all up, man. Nah, I ain't trying to do it, man. I used to be a singer pre-puberty, and then the voice messed everything up. I used to be like a soprano back in the day. Michael Jackson? What?
Because it's easy to do that.
Exactly.
It's like, for some reason, like it naturally, like when you naturally get louder, it's like the inclination is to like get higher.
Yeah, you remember boys and John B and Babyface?
Don't know about John B.
What?
John B, man, I wish that Joker didn't go away, man.
Yeah,
but I think it was one of those things where I don't know, man. It was just weird, man. Like he put out that I think he had another album.
Yeah, he did.
But
they don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was that shit right there. They don't know. Straight up.
I still listen to that jump, man.
What? I know L Train ain't big enough. L Train, Ralph Tress fan. Sensitivity. Boy, you can't say nothing about Sensitivity.
What about did you listen to Donnell Jones?
Yeah, oh yeah, no doubt.
Ooh, say what, boy.
No doubt, man. That was boy, takes you back, man. But all right, man. Again, appreciate everybody that joined the stream. We'll be back with a brand new show on Tuesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Get used to it. Like I said, hope everybody has a good weekend. I don't know what's going on this weekend,
I don't know either.
Nope.
I'll be working. So.
College football.
I was about to say first week of college football. I'll be working though, so I won't be watching.
Yeah, college football.
So I just be watching highlights. That's how I wind down my day.
Right.
Saturday, just watching highlights. I may catch a late game, but I doubt it. I don't know.
Be on the lookout for
West
some
Coast games. They're damn 2 a.m.
Be on the lookout for some new content by LTMB. We'll definitely put out some new content for y'all. But that's all we got, man. So I hope you enjoyed the show. We'll see you in a few days. Have a good weekend, everybody. Let the madness begin. Peace out.